So you just got back in today.
Mm-hmm.
How was the drive? You almost died in the snow a couple times.
Once.
Almost died once.
I didn't tell my mom that part. I got stuck. The road closed. Actually, so okay. Okay. So
yeah, you're good.
John, when I asked John to pray
Waltrip
for safety, and I was like, John, God seems to listen to you. Could you?
Yeah, he has crazy.
He has got such weird stories. So I go, John, I need you to pray for me. And what's he do?
Praise the Divine Mercy Chaplet or something.
Yeah, most likely Divine Mercy.
Yeah,
prays for me. I have to go to the bathroom. Okay, so I'm going like I'm driving and I'm like, okay, I got to Lyman. I'm pulling off. I got to go to the bathroom. So I'm like, well, I'll fill up. 5 minutes. I don't have to go to the bathroom. I literally don't have to go to the bathroom. All of a sudden, I'm like, I don't have to go to the bathroom. So I filled up real quick, hopped back on the highway, went a mile, and the road just closed.
Oh.
And I'm like, but then I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, okay, sorry. So then I turn around, and I have to get a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
It's 11 o'clock. 11
in the morning.
In the morning. I have to get a hotel.
It's not like late. Yeah.
I'm not the only one. There's a bunch of people pulling in right behind me. They're like, they literally closed it right when I was getting there. And I'm like, so like, there's a bunch of us. And John sends me a thing, goes, hey man, just wanted to let you know I prayed a Divine Mercy for safe travel. Well, and I go, well, that's hilarious, John, because I am now in a hotel because the road closed.
Because now the travel's safe because you're not going to go out in the dangerous stuff. Yeah.
So I'm like, and I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, mad.
That's funny.
I'm mad, but then I'm like, no. One of the reasons, so 11 o'clock, they finally opened it up at 4.
Mm-hmm.
The reason it took them forever to open it back up is all the car accidents that happened after they closed.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there was a bunch of car accidents. There was a bunch of cars off the road after the fact that they had closed the road down. If I wouldn't have turned off and gone to the had to go to the bathroom, I would have kept going.
One might say it was a
holy bathroom that I didn't have to go.
Yeah.
It was just like, I have to go to the bathroom, and then I didn't have to go. But it was like, it was so weird because I wasn't going to turn off. I was going to keep going.
Right.
And it literally closed in that 5 minutes. They closed the highway.
That's crazy.
And then come to find out one of the reasons, like, you couldn't see.
If you need something like weird to get done,
you call
just
John.
Have John pray for it.
Like,
and either weird or like superbly miraculous and still kind of weird. Yeah.
It was so weird.
John, if you're listening, you know it's true.
It was bizarre.
It is bizarre. No, it's not. I mean,
it was.
We know it happened.
We did.
It's just funny.
Yeah, but so so I'm tired.
Yeah.
I didn't look. I think I did 125 hours in the last 3 weeks of driving.
Wow.
Almost 7,000 miles.
So you drove to Pennsylvania.
So I drove to Pennsylvania
the first time and then back.
And I had a full load.
Mm-hmm. And then we did the commercial.
And then
you drove again.
And I was supposed to leave on Monday. And the roads closed.
Well, you're glad that didn't happen though, because you would have gotten back on like a Thursday.
So what happened?
And then left on Monday.
Yeah. So so I was supposed to leave last Monday, and my truck wasn't ready because my windshield wiper broke because I had a.
You have more truck problems than I do, and I have a really crappy truck.
And I have a really nice.
You have a really. Yeah. He has like a nice brand new truck.
Yeah.
I have a really old, like a 20-year-old truck with way too many miles and all sorts of problems. And mine could fall down a cliff and still drive. And I feel like yours is just the wrong gust of wind. And it's like, I'm broken.
Yeah. So I had a windshield wiper go out on me, my driver windshield wiper, in the middle of winter.
Oh, wow.
And it was a recall. So I was supposed to leave Monday. Well, part doesn't get here till Wednesday. Funny enough, guess what? Road closed Tuesday and Wednesday. So I would again, it's as if I wasn't supposed to go.
You weren't supposed to go then because it was too dangerous.
Yeah. So I left Friday, go hang out with my friend, have dinner, stay in Denver, and I leave Denver to go to Pennsylvania, and I get to Lyman.
Watch the taps because it kind of it picks it up on the microphone.
My body is So I'm tired.
We need to.
We need to get to this.
Yeah.
Anyways, it was a lot of weird coincidences. But I was like driving home, and I'm like, you know what? We need to do this conversation because I think it's important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some stuff has happened in Steven's life. So,
yes.
Hey everybody, it is. You've been listening for a while to us talk about road trips and stuff.
6 minutes. Welcome to the show.
So yeah, welcome to Drew the Catholic. If you have watched, if you're like one of the 6 people who watches this show, hi mom, then you've seen Steven in probably about half of them.
Yes.
And
it's been a while.
It has been a while. I just haven't been making them, but then we had some other people on, just kind of getting some other people interviewed and stuff. But when we first started, it was just kind of to do a podcast, and I wanted to do one like this. And you're like, I'll talk about that because it was kind of interesting. And you were on a journey. You were kind of doing some studying in terms of faith. Mm-hmm. And then we did more episodes, and it was clear that your journey was, maybe starting to lead you somewhere, but you weren't fully decided on where that was.
Yeah.
So have you made? Well, how do you want to do this? I guess. Do you want to just come out and say?
So I'm Catholic. I'm not officially Catholic, but
right.
hopefully on Easter I'm going to become Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
And there's kind of a story to this. So when we started this podcast, I was the Protestant that had the.
He was supposed to be the devil's advocate. Yeah, he's supposed to defend Protestantism.
But then it just ended up being 2 people agreeing with each other.
Well, really, it was like I knew that you were asking questions, and part of the conversational interest for you was like talking about it. Mm-hmm. But specifically when we did the Sola Scriptura episode, I was like, okay, Stephen, I want you to defend Sola Scriptura the best way you can.
Couldn't do it.
And yeah, you couldn't do it. I mean, you defended the Catholic view
of Sola Scriptura.
The Catholic view against it, I guess. And I had to try and strong arm it a little bit because I was like, man, we were supposed to like have this discussion, and you were just like, this doesn't work.
It doesn't. It literally doesn't work.
So that was when I knew. I don't know if you had fully decided you were gonna be Catholic at that point, but I was like, bruh, you're done.
So I had promised my mom 2 years of studying, and I think it was October. I feel like that's the last time I did a podcast with you. Was in October.
Oh, that could be. Yeah, that could be.
Then, and so it's been a while. Yeah. And I told you that, and you said that's stupid. And I
did say that.
You said that's stupid, and I went, well, it's my decision, not yours.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to a Bible study.
A Protestant Bible study.
My Bible study.
Yeah, you were
not my Bible study anymore, but my Bible study that I was a partner with. And he said something. He said, "You're either all in or you're not." And I was like, "I'm Catholic." I can't
because he was probably meaning like just give your life to God.
Yeah,
like,
but
and you're like, oh, what
like,
all in means.
No, I need like I'm not. I can't. And I told my mom like I can't do the 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, I'm trying to do a calculation of how much studying I've done, and maybe you're a little closer on the guess because I said about 200 hours last year, and I think you were like you're in the thousands probably, and.
It's hard to calculate. I don't know.
It's hard, but
I would say you're closer to 1,000 than you are to 500. Like I
was thinking about it, and I was thinking about my road trips, and I was thinking, no, I'm probably a lot closer to 1,000 hours of studying in a year.
Yep.
And
well, I wish we could I wish that we could just export all of our Marco Polo discussions.
Oh yeah.
And just upload them. We'd probably have to filter them because not all of them are about this, and some of them are.
A lot of them are. But so
yeah.
And because then I was doing the math 2 weeks ago, I did 40 hours of studying.
You put in a full-time job of studying.
A full-time job of studying while I was on the road.
Wow.
Well,
that is a great opportunity, though.
It is
because you're just focused on the road. You need something to keep you awake, and that's engaging your mind. I mean, it might put some people to sleep, but for you on this,
it's perfect. I'm weird because I was never like this before, and then all of a sudden, I'm like, ooh, study, and I actually read Scott Hahn's
Lamb's Supper.
That's right. I love that book.
It's really good.
I read it in 3 days. It's not that long of a book.
It's
only
easy.
like 160 pages.
It's worth rereading too. I mean, it's good.
But I don't read.
He doesn't know how to read.
I
It
don't
was
know
a
how to
miracle.
read. I read it in 3 days, but 3 days was like 6 hours. I read it in 6 hours because I did 2 hours, 2 hours, 2. I couldn't put the book down.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying this is why I'm Catholic, but sorry, I gotta not tap the. I've had like 4 energy drinks and 3 coffees today. So because
Wow.
I just got home.
And I made you.
And you made me a coffee.
So is it your 4th coffee?
Yeah. so I'm amped. But we'll get to the.
I think I'd be dead.
I should be. So I did that, and then I was like, I need another book, and I was like, well, I'm going on the road. I'm gonna listen to the 4th Cup,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. I've heard it before because I've heard
Right.
Scott Hahn's.
You've heard his lectures on it, yeah.
But the book takes you to a whole
Yeah,
new
that
level.
book was really good.
Oh my god, it's so good. So I've done in this year total. I'm probably at about 70 hours now of studying, and we're not even into February yet, and
That's just for 23.
that's just 20. That's just this month.
Yeah.
And so I think I've put 2 years worth into a year.
Oh, I think
And,
so.
There's still stuff I don't know, but like so many things have happened. I guess we need to go back.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Let's go
before
back.
before we like get to the end, we've already kind of revealed a lot of the craziness of it. But
let's
let's-
talk about the journey.
yeah, let's back up. So, and I'll just kind of I guess open it to you however you want to start it.
Well, you want to direct it? Where to start? Where do you want me to start?
I don't know. That's up to you, I guess. Because I mean I know your story.
Yes.
They obviously don't.
So this was
But
my idea too. So I was like, I guess I had an idea, but then I had like 4 coffees.
And now you're like,
Well, and then something else happened tonight, and it kind of distracted me. But
yeah,
we're gonna bring it back. So my journey has been hell.
yeah, I would
It has
agree.
not been a good one. It has not been easy. That's actually why I wanted to do this, is because I feel like a lot of people, when things get tough, especially with religion, that's when they give up and they go, I don't think this is right. It shouldn't be this hard. And it's like,
Right.
this has been, I'm going to be honest, this is probably the hardest thing I've ever gone through. And it's the most alone I've ever felt in my life, because, and I mean alone as in when, and you can attest for this, one of the hardest things I ever went through was a breakup where a girl literally destroyed my heart into 1,000 pieces that I had to mend back together. And I was destroyed.
That was kind of at the beginning of this.
This
right?
actually, that is a part of this story. But you were there, and I had anybody to talk to. I could call anybody at any moment to talk to them. It has been you for this. I have had nobody else to talk to.
For the Catholic stuff, you mean?
To become Catholic.
With the breakup, you could talk to everybody,
with,
family,
I literally,
friends.
yeah,
Okay,
sorry.
okay.
Let me,
Just to clarify.
To clarify, when this girl destroyed me, I could call you. I could call anyone in this Bible study. I hadn't even started the Bible study. Actually, the Bible study started after. But like, I had all these people I could reach out to and be like, I'm broken. I need help. And they were there. The moment I started looking into Catholicism, all those people disappeared. I couldn't talk to any of them without, why are you doing that? And so now I'm going through this thing where I'm like, this is true. And all of a sudden I have nobody to talk to, and everyone just thinks I'm like, the moment I came out, sorry. The moment I came out
of the Catholic closet,
Catholic closet, it's actually, this is an analogy I have used. It's almost as if coming out of the closet as a gay
well,
man.
it's like coming out as gay like 25 years ago.
Yeah, to a family that doesn't like gay people.
Right.
Well, I came out as Catholic to a bunch of people that hate Catholics.
Yeah.
And I know they don't like I know they hate Catholics because I listened for over a year of every time something Catholic came up, of just how much they disdain, like how much hatred there is for this. And I just listened for a year.
And this is while you're doing this
This is
study?
while I'm studying this. And it's like, and all of a sudden I'm like, I'm Catholic, and I have to figure out how to tell all these people who hate Catholics that I'm Catholic. And not only that, just to kind of skip ahead, like, I'm Catholic and nobody knows I'm Catholic. And one of the things that I believe about, like, if you believe something, are you willing to die for it? And it's like, what was eating me away for a long time was, I believe that you should be willing to die for your beliefs, for God, yet I can't tell anybody. I have to keep this a secret, and it was crippling. And you know this.
I was gonna say, you were much angstier during that latter phase when you were. I think it's made a solid decision internally, and we're just kind of waiting for the right time.
And my mom really knew it too. She was like, "You're so angry all the time. Why would I think Catholicism is good?" And I go, "Mom, I have nobody to talk to. Every time I try to talk to you about this, it sucks. So why would you think this is easy for me?" And she's like, "Oh," and I'm like, "That's why I'm becoming Catholic, and I seem like an angry person." And it's not because Catholicism is making me angry. I literally am alone, and I have all these things I want to share with people, and I can't share anything with anybody. So that's kind of like, to jump ahead, but like, it started, I guess my journey started, honestly, Oops. It started with me.
I brainwashed you, as some people might be inclined to say.
I made my own choices.
Yeah.
It started with me leaving a marriage. Like, I didn't get divorced. Like, we didn't get married, but I left on the day we were supposed to get married.
That's a juicy story. Yeah.
Yeah. We're not getting into that, but that's the day this all started.
Yep.
And
I met you shortly after that, right? It was like 2 or 3 weeks later.
Because I joined the Bible study.
Yep, that's right.
And
I remember you brought that up, and I was like, oh.
Yeah. I wasn't scared to tell my story.
Like, hey, everybody, I just did this. I just left her at the altar, and I'm like, who is this guy?
An asshole.
Yeah. I don't know that I would. Well, yeah, maybe that's what I was thinking. Yeah. Something. I was like, dang.
There's a story.
Yeah.
She's married now. She has a kid. She's doing great, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So it worked out for both of us. But that's really what started this. It was all of a sudden I went down this path, and I met you, and I joined this Bible study.
I was not Catholic yet.
You weren't Catholic
yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
because Gina and I were just dating.
Yeah. I literally met you, Gina, I met everybody all at once, except for a few people I had known.
Okay.
But yeah, I just met you, and you were like,
I was probably so annoying at Bible study.
Yeah. So I didn't like Catholic. I hated Catholics.
Yeah.
At first.
Well,
I was a part of the group of hating Catholics, but you weren't Catholic yet. But the things you said
were pretty Catholic.
I
was already
think you were
very
starting to be Anglican.
Well, no. So at that point,
this was right before.
At that point, I would have been Anglican already.
Okay,
so I was confirmed Anglican
right before COVID.
I was confirmed Anglican probably right around that time, actually.
Okay.
But for me, basically coming out of, and if you've watched my story, you see my experience from many churches. I was already like probably going to be Anglican my senior year of college. Had one last little spout of like non-denom, and that really just said at the least I have to be Anglican. So like when I moved to Montrose, I was like the minimum was like high church Anglican.
Yeah.
So I was already kind of.
Okay.
I wouldn't have described myself as an evangelical.
No, but the things you were saying were, I didn't like them. But I liked you.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, he's a good. Like, I don't know why I clinged on to you and Ryan and Andrew, but I did.
That was the group for a while.
That was the group, and this was right before COVID. And you had brought up something about Mary.
There's just something about Mary. Yep.
You brought up that she was a virgin forever.
Yeah, this was like this was right before COVID.
This was right before.
So
COVID.
we met the summer of 2019.
Yeah, it was
Gina and I had just started dating. So then Gina and I get engaged, and then so I'm already Anglican at this point. And then so that would have been the very end of the Bible study at the leader's house. At that leader's house.
Yes.
So that would have been like March, I'm guessing, or April of 20.
of 20. So we were about. It was right. Yeah.
Because we got married in March of 20.
So no, it'd have been in February.
So Gina and I weren't married yet?
No, because the Bible study was done because we went to the online. Like we went to everybody went to.
That's right. And
we
then
had to do the Skype or whatever.
Yeah, and then we did it in the park for like 2 times.
We did it in the
and
park for a couple weeks. Okay, so it was probably, I almost think it was the year before. I think it was in 19 when you had brought this up, and
okay,
you had brought up the perpetual virginity, and I was arguing against it. We weren't even at the Bible study. We were arguing it somewhere else.
So this was somewhere else. Okay.
And I was like, I had this argument of, well, what about the brothers and sisters and blah, blah. You had this answer. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't even think about that.
Because this did happen at Bible study.
Yeah, no.
One of the very last ones. That was in like March or April of 20.
That was in February. That would have been like a couple of weeks later because, it would have been February.
Oh, okay.
So because it was like I remember it was the next week or the next day because I go, guess what we're going to be talking about? Because we were going to be talking about Mary and her virginity. And
right.
And I go, Ryan, you just wait. And he's like, what? And I go, try to argue this point. And he's like, I've got it. And I go, I know exactly what you're going to argue because it's what I argued and it doesn't work.
Yep.
And so he did it. And then you were like that. And I'm like, I knew it because it doesn't work. And I'm like, Ryan, I told you it doesn't work. That argument doesn't work.
For clarification,
I don't know what it was.
I brought up the perpetual virginity of Mary. And this was, so this must have been like right before COVID was serious or something because we were still meeting in person.
Yeah, it was February.
So February and March. And we were talking about, it was either the passage of the Annunciation or some other passage that would allude to her virginity.
Something.
So I think it was like Luke 2 or something.
Looked up. No, it was in John.
We were in John. Oh, you know what it was? It was at the cross. Was it at the foot of the cross when Jesus gives the care of Mary to John?
It might have been.
Yeah.
Then went to Matthew, I believe.
Because I definitely had an agenda at that point because I was like, I was already like, man, Anglicanism might not be enough. And I had already read enough history to be like, I don't know about the rest of the Marian dogmas, but I definitely think she was a virgin. And so did most of the reformers, you
were like trying to get us to do like a Sunday early church.
Yeah, we were doing
study,
an early church fathers group.
And I hated it. I was like, this is stupid.
Yep.
You're wrong. Get out of here.
Well,
we can hang out, but we're not
talking religion, yeah. Well, I remember that. So the foot of the cross,
yep.
Jesus gives the care of the Blessed Virgin to John.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, this is really sweet. Like, like she's his family now because they're brother and sister in Christ.
And you brought up the
and I was
Jewish
like,
tradition.
Yeah, there's a Jewish custom, of you have a legal obligation to care for your next of kin, and especially women because they couldn't own property and stuff.
If he had a brother,
if he had legal brothers, then it would be their
breaking,
legal responsibility.
But he would have been breaking one of his own
laws,
which he can't do because
he's perfect.
He's perfect.
Yeah. So if Jesus gives the care of Mary at the cross to someone who's not next of kin and makes it impossible for the next of kin to fulfill their legal obligation, then he's forcing somebody else to break the law.
So that was
he might be breaking the law.
When you said that, and then all of a sudden it was like, I don't remember if you said it or if I said it. I was like, that makes Joseph that much better.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow, what a man to not only take care of someone you can't sleep with, because that was the argument of, well, when you get married, that's one of the obligations. Like he says, multiply. But I'm like, wow, what a man to take a woman that you can't sleep with and take care of her and a child that's not yours.
Mm-hmm.
What a man to want to aspire to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was actually thinking about that today is I don't think Catholics, I'd say some Catholics, but I don't think Catholics give Joseph enough.
Oh, he's a big deal.
No, I know I mean
deal.
the people.
Okay.
I'm not saying the church.
Sure,
I mean like, you know how there's like 60% of them of us Catholics that just aren't Catholic?
Yeah, sure.
They don't give Joseph enough credit. The Protestant side of it doesn't give Joseph any credit.
Yeah, because they think he had a bunch of kids. Yeah.
And but like this guy, like, I was just thinking about it today, and it made me think of my brother. It's like my brother, if my brother was to ever become Catholic, I feel like his person would be Joseph, like
his confirmation saint,
because he's got 2 kids that aren't his.
Oh,
I
okay.
have 2 nephews that aren't mine, but yet you would never know that those 2 kids are not my brothers.
Right.
That's the way he treats them, and it's like, that's like, if we treat Joseph, so like, if you treated Joseph better, like, I don't know where I'm going with this, but like, it made me think of my brother.
The patronage of Saint Joseph is a big deal. Yeah.
But I was just like, wow, we do not give this guy enough credit for what he did.
That's funny that you say that, though, because I think, was it 2020 or was it 2021? I think it was 21 was actually the year of Saint Joseph.
Oh wow, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So, and he's kind of declared the universal father of the church in like a human sense, because he was the guardian of Jesus, and it's the body of Christ. Like, he's like the guardian of the church is kind of one of his titles.
I was just like, I don't.
Yeah,
think...
but the respect you have for him is like, if you were celibate that whole time and raising a kid,
like that's. I mean, it was just like, wow,
and just to think like, Mary's like, this is God's kid, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, but I mean,
luckily the angel is like, dude, and he's like, oh, okay, I believe you now.
But I mean, like, wow, what a guy.
Yeah.
I just.
Well, another thing too, this is what I think about with Joseph too. This is one of my arguments too, because I'm like, so first off, there's the whole John thing, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's the fact that Mary and Joseph are devout Jews. Like, devout. They're not just like, oh, hey, whatever, I'm Jewish. You know, I go to the J Center sometimes. They're like Jewish, you know what I mean? Like, very, very devout. No Jew would have ever entered the Holy of Holies.
Yeah.
The place where God's presence was in its fullness. They would have died unless the high priest cleansed on the day they went in. So Joseph, knowing that God's imminent presence is in the tabernacle, in the Holy of Holies, then knowing that his wife has God himself dwelling in her womb, what does that become in a Jew's mind? That becomes quite literally the Holy of Holies. Yeah. So what are you not going to do? You're probably not going to enter the Holy of Holies. And I don't mean to like be crass with that. No, it's sort of but literally and metaphorically, like, you're not going to come into the Holy of Holies. Yeah. Like, you're not going to do that. No. As a Jew. And so Joseph's not going to know his spouse because that's become the new tabernacle.
So, yeah. So, but
anyways, was another,
I remember that because that
was
a big,
really all the way back 2020. Then.
So that was a big change to me, and a lot of people actually loved that.
Yeah.
And then the Bible study got ended right after that, actually.
Because of COVID.
And
maybe.
And then I started noticing.
Well, then we took it over.
We took it over here. Yeah. But I started noticing churches with COVID, and I know the Catholic Church didn't do this well either. But I started noticing. Case, no. I just started noticing how we were treating church, and I started getting mad about it. Like,
okay.
The church I watched stopped doing Sunday worship, and they would film it on Thursdays, and.
Oh, that's weird.
And then the political stuff started slipping in, and I was like, "This is stupid. I'm hating this." And then, 2020. So I'm not quite there yet, but like, I'm just noticing things. And
yeah, you're starting to have a perspective shift with those.
Yeah.
And is it just that you're like seeing, like, what is it you're noticing in the churches? Like, obviously they're filming on Thursdays, and that's kind of weird. There's some politics entering, and that's weird.
But they're not open.
Sure. Yeah, churches are all closed.
But I think politics was a huge one, because obviously we know what happened in 2020. It was a rough year for a lot of reasons.
Summer of love, yeah.
Yeah, and so I started noticing some agendas, and I started noticing just all these things. But then when COVID disappeared, they stuck to the Thursday. We're going to film on Thursday and show it live, or it won't be live. It'll be filmed, and you can go see it on Sunday, but it's not live. Mm-hmm. And then I started having a perspective change of like, what is church about? It's not about me. And I'm not really, my years are, because last year was 22. So 21, we didn't have a Bible study anymore. It was all gone. This is what's weird.
Well, we had the Bible study at our house until Gwendolyn was born.
Yeah,
So that would have been until September
of 21.
Mm-hmm. I think we ended
That's
it in
how long we
August.
had it?
Yeah.
I guess we started it. Yeah, so it was almost a year. But what we
Mhm.
started studying too was we started in Genesis, but we started reading it as Jews.
Yeah.
That was a big.
Yeah, because when we took the
swing.
Bible study, I wanted to approach it of like, let's approach the Bible as the people that first received it, and like
I think
what
of
they
all
would have
the
thought.
People, I was the one that was like, huh.
Yeah, everyone else was like, why would we do that?
Yeah, and I'm
Maybe they weren't, but that's what it
maybe
felt like.
That's what it felt like. Well, because I'm the only one that was like, questions. I have
Yeah,
so many
that's
questions.
true. That's true.
Well, okay, if this is this and this is this, and all of a sudden you're like, well, let me show you this. And yeah, because 2022 was the. Oh my God! No, you're right. So 21 was it was the beginning of 21 when I started finally. So I was 2 years single, and I finally started dating again. Because I remember I was dating the girl. I dated one girl in Denver, and then and then I dated another girl in Denver. But you.
Oh boy, what
did
I do?
I think you should pray to Mary.
Oh yeah, because you were trying to date the girl, and then you kind of ended up dating her, and I forget how that happened, but somehow
you were like, I was trying to get her to talk to me.
That's right.
And you were like, you should pray to Mary.
I'm a turd, man,
Yeah.
but hey,
So
whatever, it worked.
It worked.
Yeah.
Don't always
tell us about that.
Don't always expect what you want. I guess
well, yeah, because I think
I started praying to Mary.
I think I brought this up with a couple of the guys because like there were a couple things that guys that we knew were struggling with that were guy issues, singleness, and struggles with other things.
And for me was pray for something with this, like pray to Mary.
Yeah, it's like talking to your mom.
So I started praying to Mary. I'm like, Mary, like, will you like get this girl to talk to me, like, and I was like, in Jesus, like help, like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I took 2 years off of dating, like I'm ready, and all of a sudden she starts talking to me, and it was weird. It was very like it just the things. It was like my prayers were being answered. So I'm just like, cool. And
Mary got me a girlfriend.
So I'm like, this is awesome. So I start talking to her, and come to find out, we have very similar stories. Just get into a little detail, very opposite but the same. So like she got married 2 days before my birthday. So she got married on April 19th, 2019, 2 days before my birthday, which was Easter. I know exactly where I was when she got married, which is so bizarre. I was fighting with my girlfriend at the time, or fiance at the time, driving to Denver. And she got married in Denver at a courthouse 2 days before my birthday. I was supposed to get married 2 days after her birthday at a courthouse. So I was supposed to get married May 17th. Her birthday was May 15th. So we literally were both in a situation that she didn't want to get married. She ended up getting pregnant, and that was one of the reasons she got married. There's a long story to this for her, because it's not just like, oh, she was bad things. But we had such a similar story, but she got married where I didn't. She wanted to run, but she didn't. I did. And then all of a sudden we meet, and we have these. So all of us, she's going through a divorce, and so I'm like helping her through this because I know what she's going through with other people that I've known, and like all of a sudden it's like I'm helping this girl, and we start falling in love. I guess. Well, one of us did, but she ended up breaking my heart into a million little pieces. But like it was just this. It was so weird. It's almost as if...
Yeah, I'll admit, like, Because I remember
thought it
talking
was
to
weird
you.
too.
It was super weird. I was like, there's so many little details.
There was
like weird
that's
things
not even
like
it.
that.
There was
but
more.
like, yeah, there's a
It's almost
plethora
like
of
we were
things.
the same person.
Yep.
This is
Which
one
could
of the
be why it
problems.
didn't work, honestly.
We were too similar, except for she was more. I would say she was more like a go-getter, where I'm more like go with the flow.
Yeah.
That was a problem, but we were kind of similar. But like, what it really was is God gave me an opportunity to see what my life could have been.
Yeah.
Which is weird. God answered a prayer to meet a girl who went through the exact same thing as me, just worse. But she went through with it and I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 years later, she got a divorce or was going through a divorce. 2 years
You
later,
weren't.
I would have been.
Yeah.
Most likely. And it's like, wow, this is the most bizarre. But why? Like, why did I have to meet the one person in the world that literally was doing the exact same thing as me at the exact same time? It
Just made like the slightly different path. Yeah.
It was, yeah. But it was like, so I was taking it as this is the girl I'm going to marry, even though she was married, but getting a divorce. But I wasn't Catholic yet, so I did the whole divorce. But I would actually argue she would be annulment.
Yeah. You have to
But anyway,
take it to the tribunal.
But I'm pretty sure they would look at the situation and go,
That's a messy
that's
one.
a messy one. But I was just like, oh,
The baby wake up.
baby woke up.
That probably wasn't us. That's 2 stories up.
Okay. But so it was just like there there was too many things.
Yeah.
So I just was like, this is a girl I'm going to marry.
Mm-hmm.
And
I could have thought so too.
Yeah. Like
for a while.
And then all of a sudden it just blew up because what happened was I went towards God. When all of my stuff went to hell, I went towards God. She did not. So it's almost like this is what my life could have been. But she had a chance to turn towards God, and she let all of her friends dictate not to. And where I was like, not going to allow, like I didn't allow anyone to tell me what I'm going towards God. And I took 2 years. And so it was just weird. So, but this girl broke my heart, destroyed me. You were when I say broke my heart, I mean,
it was bad.
It was bad for like
I was like,
months.
oh, Steven is a sad boy.
Yeah. And it
you
was
were like so now you're past it. So I can say this. You were kind of difficult to be around because you were like so depressed for a while. It was hard.
I couldn't be around people.
You. Yeah, it was
because I don't.
We were at the summer music series like when you first got back from that, and I'm like, come to the summer music series with us and have a beer or whatever. And I think you'd already stopped drinking at this point.
No.
Oh, you hadn't stopped drinking yet.
Not yet.
And we're sitting there. I think Richard came with us, our friend Richard, and so Richard and I are talking about just stupid stuff, and Steven's just like.
Miserable.
And then like after like 2 songs, like I'm gonna go home, and he just leaves.
Yeah.
And I was like, I
couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I literally couldn't live.
It was bad.
And then I got COVID.
Yeah, you got COVID really bad.
I got it for 2 weeks. Like I thought I was gonna die, and my other friend goes, "Oh no, you're gonna suffer." Because your life is just this weird mess of things, and you're gonna suffer. And then 2 weeks pass, and I get bronchitis.
Yep.
For another 2 weeks. So I'm just a mess. And then I go to my friend's wedding, and I am a mess, and I don't want to be there. And
this is like what, like August?
This was September at this point of 2001. And 21. And I feel bad for my friends because I was a horrible, horrible person at their wedding. But I was a horrible, horrible person because of this thing. And I wasn't supposed to be at that wedding alone. Someone was supposed to go to that wedding with me. And so I was just a mess. So I quit drinking the day after their wedding. I haven't drank since. And that was like September 16th or 17th. I haven't had a drink since because I told myself I can't allow myself to be this. And you were so hesitant on everything because you're like,
I just told you to pray to Mary, and
then my life just destroyed.
You're like, I prayed to Mary and it worked, and this is gonna be my wife. And then you're praying to Mary, this girl's talking to you, and now you're dating, and you're still asking for the intercession of Mary. Then it blows up, and I'm like, Stephen does not want to ask for the intercession of Mary because when that happens, his life sucks. So we're just done talking about it.
He's like you were so hesitant, and you told me, you're like, I was so scared to bring up anything because I told you to do this, and all of a sudden your life just goes to hell. And I'm like, can I go to church with you?
I was like, what? I'm like thinking Steven probably hates me and is like, I'm never going to listen to you about religion again because I tried the one thing you suggested because you said she's a virgin and that made sense. And then a year later you say, ask for her to pray for you. And boom.
Yeah, my life went to hell. And I just was like, well, she did answer my prayers. Or Jesus, like God answered my prayers through her. Like I couldn't articulate that.
Sure.
But
I don't know how it works.
I don't know how it works, but it worked.
Something happened.
Something did happen. And it was just too coincidental of the things of our lives and the paths. And it
was really weird. Yeah.
It was so weird that it's like it had to happen. And
it is interesting, like talking about this now, because now that you're saying this, at the time when we didn't know how it was going to go, all these similarities seemed like stuff that was going to bring you together. But now it's exactly like you said. It's almost like seeing yourself in a mirror of the decisions you almost made but avoided for some reason. Yeah, it's really interesting.
I was actually telling Father Matthew this. I was like, it's almost as if God needed to show me what my life could have been.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad I'm on this end of it.
Yeah. Even
though I went through it to get there, I'm glad this happened. But I was like, it's like I had to see what my life could have been. And but yeah, I was like, I started a Bible study shortly after all that. I was like,
and this is with a lot of the same group that was in the original
I started that Bible study back up with
because we had stopped it because of Gwendolyn, and then the guy who led it before started it back up with you.
Okay. So we started back up, but I started going to I was going to 4 churches.
Yeah.
I was going to the one I go to, another one, St. Mary's, and one other.
So you were going to 3 Protestant churches.
I was going to 3 Protestant churches and
then Mass.
And Mass.
Every weekend.
Yeah. And so I was doing 4. So Saturday I went to one. So
I like going to church, but
yeah. So I went to a lot. So Saturday I went to one, and then literally from 9 to 12 I went to 3. So I would go to Mass, and then I'd go to the Cowboy Church. And then I went to Celebration Church, which is a Baptist church.
Okay.
And so I not only did I see I got to see the differences between how people treat everything. And so I'm just going down this little path of like, what's true and what's real. And
my life is a nightmare.
And then I noticed, my life's a nightmare and it's falling apart. And Mary answered.
And now I'm not drinking anymore.
No, I'm not drinking anymore, so I can't even go drink. And I started going but then I started dwindling down. And so I stopped going to the Cowboy Church. That one, I didn't go very long. I was only going to the Celebration Church for a reason, but I quit going to that one. And then, so I was going to Grace, which is I don't know what they are.
They're technically Foursquare,
but I don't know what that means.
But it's just an evangelical movement, kind of based on some of Wesleyanism.
And so I was going to that, and I was going to Mass. And I was still kind of paying attention to Red Rocks, but I think it was Christmas. I got really mad at Christmas.
Yeah, I remember this.
Because this was Christmas Eve was on Friday, Christmas was on Saturday. I went to Christmas Eve at Grace, and I went to Mass. Saturday, Christmas, only Mass had a Christmas vigil or
you mean Christ's Mass?
Christ's Mass.
Sorry,
and
that's my.
I don't know why
this
bugged the crap out of me. I was like, it's Christmas.
I remember thinking this was a really weird hot take from you because I was like, why do you care?
I was like,
why is no one doing church on Christmas?
I literally don't know why it bugged me so much. I was like, because I don't know if I've ever actually been to Christmas service.
Sure.
And all of a sudden I'm like, why is this not open on Christmas?
I want to go to church 6 times on Christmas and I can't.
I've gone to 3 services or whatever you want to call it. I've gone to 2 masses and 1 service, but like, why is the Catholic Church the only place that's open?
The only religious institution honoring Christ's Mass
on Christmas.
Yeah.
And I didn't even like look at the Eucharist as I hadn't even developed that.
I don't even know if you were thinking about that.
No, I didn't fully understand, but I was like, why is this the only place I can go? And then New Year's. Well, they took a 2-week break.
A lot of the like, evangelical churches?
All of them.
All the ones you went to?
No. All of them.
Okay. There has to be like one evangelical church that didn't take a break.
No. It's almost like they are on the same website and they go, hey guys, here's our calendar. Follow this. No one was open from Christmas to the first week. So like,
it was like 2 solid weeks.
Two solid weeks of no Sunday. There was no Sunday. Christmas was on Saturday. There was no Sunday service the day after Christmas.
So there's no Christmas, no
so
Sunday.
There's no Christmas, no
Sunday.
There is no following Sunday. At all of them are closed for the new year. And so what's open? Where do I go? I go back to Mass.
Yeah.
Because it's the only place. And guess what? I could have gone both days. I was so confused. And I don't know why this bugged me all of a sudden, but I was like, why is there not a place for me to go worship God? I thought that was the point. So, am I clipping?
Just a little bit.
Sorry guys. That's why I was like,
you didn't actually clip, but it came close. So, okay. I'll just turn it down a little bit.
So, I don't know why this bugged me so much, but it's like, all of a sudden, I don't know if this is when my perspective changed on this, but church didn't become about me. All of a sudden, I was like, I can't go worship God. That doesn't sound right. And I was telling my mom, I'm like, Mom, like, why are these places Why are these places closed? And we're not even talking about this year. This year pissed me off even more. I didn't even make it to Mass this year because I was sick on Christmas, but nobody was celebrating Christmas on Sunday. And then guess what? New Year's Sunday again. They're closed. There was I couldn't do it. I was like, this year just but I don't know why, but all of a sudden my whole perspective changed on this whole like, it's not about me.
I was gonna say speak to that more, because like you're going to all these churches and you're like beginning to ask questions.
I'm starting to
what
notice.
were you like doing with that, and how are you asking those questions, and what changed your perspective to that? And then I guess specifically that, because I remember that shift when you're like, church isn't about me, and I was like, whoa, okay.
Do you remember, like, I guess the thing that like so this is what I was kind of thinking about this today too, is like, every time I tell this story of like how I'm starting to become Catholic, there's a new like, well, this, and then I go, well, this, well, this, and I'm like, I can't pinpoint.
There's a lot of things, yeah,
because there was a lot. There was the looking into Jewish tradition. There was looking into,
because you had been doing a lot of that already.
I had already
at this
been
time?
doing that.
Okay, well, because we started some of that at the Bible study.
We started that, but I was also like,
and you started looking into it a little on your own.
I started looking into it a little bit on my own. The Mary thing was huge. Yeah. Actually, I'm going to be honest. Mary has been the easiest. I know a lot of people get hung up on Mary, but I found out, I know why Mary is so easy for me, is because even when I was an atheist, so my grandpa died, I think when I was 10 or 11. I would pray to, I don't want to say pray, but I think I did. I would say, hey, Grandpa, I hope you're listening to me. I hope you're somewhere. I don't know. I was like, every time I hopped on an airplane, it was, I'm an atheist, but Grandpa, if you're there, will you protect me and the people on this plane? And then I'd be like, God, if you're real. But it was like,
you really didn't like planes, do you?
No, I hate planes. But like, no, like, okay. You want to talk about like what got me to, but I was like, but I always talk to my grandpa.
So the intercession of the saints wasn't like a roadblock to you then, because you've
like,
basically been doing that.
No, the saints one maybe a little bit, but Mary wasn't that hard, because not only was I already doing that with my grandpa, but then when my grandma died, she's the reason I even became Christian. Before she died, I went to church for the first time, and but then she died. But I would do the same thing, was like, Grandma, I know you're not gone, so will you please pray for me? And then all of a sudden,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I did this all the time. Like my grandma and my grandpa, I was like, both of you pray for me. And then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, God too. well, when you're like, pray to Mary, I'm like, oh. But I'm like, but I pray to my grandma and grandpa, so what's the difference? And so like when I realized it's no different, it wasn't that hard to be like, okay. And so that one's been the easiest, to be honest. Is Mary.
Yeah, that was like one of my biggest hangups. And it was only like the really crazier dogmas, right? Like the crowning as the Queen of Heaven, the Assumption.
I guess I went into it so slowly.
Yeah.
That I didn't have, like, it was like, I didn't think of her as the queen.
Sure.
It was just pray to Mary. And then it was slowly like, well, she's the mother of God, and now she's the queen. And I didn't have a problem. It just slowly, just because I was also studying Old Testament. So like now I'm like, okay, well, actually this works. This doesn't go against
the Queen
Bible.
Mother. Yeah.
Yeah. What is
the Gabira
or Debbie? Shoot.
It's Gabira, the word for Queen Mother.
Yeah, but in Hebrew is Debbie Ross is Queen Mother in Hebrew.
It's Gabira in Hebrew.
Oh, Scott Hahn would argue that one with
I'm
me.
pretty sure it's Gabira. I might be wrong.
He said it today. I've listened to it.
There might be two titles because I know he's also said Gabira.
Okay, but and then
Either
so
way.
it's either Aramaic or Hebrew. He
Whatever.
said Debbie Ross is
Okay.
and I always think of Diana Ross when I was like Diana Ross, but Debbie Ross, Queen Mother. And sorry, I don't know why it clicked. But so I didn't have a problem with Mary though.
Sure.
Mary was the easiest one, and the Pope was the hardest one.
Yeah, I think that is
It
like
wasn't even
objectively the hardest.
Pope. I think it was this Pope.
Okay.
And,
Interesting.
Because and actually I found myself defending him more than I found myself. Because actually I would send you articles just to piss you off.
I remember this.
Yeah, I was like,
because like you're like coming to mass with me.
Yeah.
And like, oh, Mary, that makes sense. I'll pray to Mary. And then you're like, Pope Francis did this dumb thing.
Drew, why did Pope Francis say this?
Oh, I would get mad.
But
too.
I just did
It's
it.
like, Steven, you ass.
I did it on purpose.
Yeah,
because I was like, but
mad.
I actually wouldn't read it, and I was like, oh, they're lying.
I do remember that. That was at the very end of 21 and the beginning.
I did it just to piss you off. So,
thanks, buddy.
yeah. So
he knows my
Christmas,
trigger points. Like,
I
what
do.
makes me instantly?
I do. So Christmas happened, and the Jewish thing. I think you kept pushing. Well, Easter, and I'm like, I'm not ready.
Oh yeah, I wanted you to come to Easter Vigil.
No, you wanted me to become Catholic on Easter Vigil.
Were we even talking like that though?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you were already pretty close.
No. You were just like, hey, we could get you in.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, no.
Taunting you.
And at that point, I was like, talking to my mom about it. And I'm like, this is what happened. So I don't remember exactly when this was, but I started reading the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, I'm like,
what am I doing?
Let's read the Bible.
That's a good idea.
So
we should start with
what
scriptures.
what did I start with was Matthew 16, Isaiah 22. And I'm like, why are these so similar?
Mm-hmm.
And then there was other, I can't remember all that one's the one that sticks out the most, but there was a bunch of passages, and I go, Ryan, this is my brother. He's like, why are you going to mass? And I go, why does this and this line up?
Mm-hmm.
Why does this and this line up? Why is this? And I just started listing off all these things, and he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, yeah, this doesn't make sense to me. And I started showing my mom that. She's like, what does that mean? I go, I think we should be Catholic. And she's like, no. And I'm like,
sure.
But I'm like, I think we need to be Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
Using the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I think we need to be Catholic.
I remember that because I think that was kind of at the beginning of the year.
That was at the beginning of the year, and I still had a problem with the Pope. I still had a problem with authority, but not.
Mm-hmm. Well, you start to like warm up to it.
I did,
but I think that was the moment when you really started to, because you and I.
That's when I really started to study.
Yeah, because we had discussions, and like you would ask me questions, and I'd give you an answer, and you'd be like, "Huh," and then I'd be like, "Oh, maybe he's listening, and he's coming to mass." And I was just hoping that like by coming to mass, you were gonna be like, "I'm ready to go."
And I wasn't,
but you weren't.
But
I think is when you started studying on your own.
I did. I started.
Yeah.
one thing that pisses me off.
which was good because it's like, don't take my word for
Well,
it.
no, and everything you said, I went and found. I was like, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna just blindly listen to you. Obviously,
Mhm.
some people think that,
Yeah, that's
and
true.
that makes me very angry, because it's almost as if people don't think I have a mind of my own and I can't come up with my own decisions, and I just blindly follow people. And I'm gonna be honest. If one of you or any of you hear this and actually watch it and hear this, I am very hurt by that, because you treat me as if I was just a pawn, when I don't give myself enough credit a lot of the time. But like, that hurts so bad. Like, we're not even to the part where it starts to break apart. That hurt. Like, people that I respect and love all of a sudden just think I'm just a blind idiot. And like, so like that one, sorry, I don't mean to tear up, because we're not even there yet. We're gonna get there. Oh man, angry. Like, you want to talk about why I've been so angry? It's because of that. So I started studying. You sent me Jimmy Aiken and Brant Petrie. I started reading. Oh,
And I was like, I have no business sending these guys because they're like
so
ridiculously smart and like heady.
You sent. I only read 2 chapters of Brant Petrie's book on Mary. I didn't have to read it anymore. I literally didn't. I was like, what?
Brant, you're a saint in the making. It's so
2
good.
chapters.
It's so good.
I still need to go finish the book. This was a year ago.
Oh, because it gets better.
It gets better, but 2 chapters in, I went, Mary's the Ark of the Covenant? Mary's Eve?
Those are big ones.
I ran upstairs because was my mom there yet? No, I drove. So my parents live with me currently.
And you heard that correctly. His parents live with him.
With me. They're building a house. So I drove one night. It was 9. And I started reading that, and I went, I drove to my mom's house. And I went to her and I go, I need to read you this right now. And I just read her, I don't know if it was like a chapter or a page. I drove there just to show her.
Wow.
That. And she goes, again, she's like, what does this mean? And I go, I think we need to be Catholic. And it was about the Ark. And it was about Eve. And I was so blown away. And then all that just like floodgates. I'm listening to Jimmy Aiken all the time. I'm listening to Trent Horn. I'm listening to Brant Petrie. I listened to Brant Petrie's take on Mary. Like, I didn't have to I didn't have to read the book because he just went through it. I sent it to my aunt. My aunt said, I love my aunt, but I think she's mad that I'm becoming Catholic, and she sent me this guy to listen to. That's so I didn't just study Catholicism. I have studied other things, which have made me more Catholic because of it. She sent me a guy named John Barnett, Dr. John Barnett. His take on Catholicism was so, I'm going to say that, shitty that I had to go find the truth. I was like, what?
I believe there's another Catholic YouTuber.
We wanted to make a video on one of his was
Somebody did.
Bad.
Somebody did. So Kyle, if you watch this, I don't know if Kyle's gonna watch this. There's another Catholic YouTuber that I'm in the Discord with he does a series called Low Hanging Fruit.
Okay.
And he debunks anti-Catholic people who are just like really bad. And he does a video on John Burnett, I'm pretty sure.
I'm sorry, like, I don't know Catholicism.
It's really bad.
I don't know Catholicism at this point, and I literally was like, "That's not true. That's not true."
Yeah, they don't believe that. I remember this because
I was so mad. I think because one of his things was they re-sacrifice Jesus every time at the Mass, and I'm like, that doesn't make. I'm like, I don't know the Eucharist at this point, but like that doesn't make any sense to me. And then this one bugged me. Why Christmas is pagan, but we still celebrate it anyways. And he just like ripped Catholicism apart for taking Christmas and making it pagan, but then at the end of it goes, but it's okay to celebrate. And I'm like, if you think that, then no, it's not. And that just, I made it my life's goal to disprove John Barnett. And then I found out he's a. So this is also something else about me is I almost took a route of what's it called when you like annihilate one thing at a time? Not annihilate, like what I say annihilate because it's just like you know what I mean.
Ben Shapiro destroys John Barnett.
So I went at Catholicism backwards.
Right. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
I went, okay, well, if he's wrong, what else is wrong?
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden, and then he was a rapture person.
Mm-hmm.
So what did I study?
The rapture.
The rapture. So what did I find out? All of this stuff about the rapture. And I went, well, that can't be even close to being true.
Mm-hmm.
And so then it's like, it's almost as if I dissected Christianity backwards and got myself to Catholicism.
Yeah, you kind of like took the traditions that you were maybe close to or aligned with or people you knew would have been influenced by and worked through all of
and
those.
I worked.
And you were you were reading Brent Preachy and all those guys at this time.
I was still looking into it, but I was like, because you were like, just be Catholic. And I'm like, no.
I'm so gentle over here. Hey, just be Catholic. Join the church, you idiot.
And I'm like, not yet.
Yeah.
But I like when I say like I took this serious.
You did.
I did.
Well,
and
I remember
backwards.
this because I was like, you're coming to mass, you're reading these books, they're making sense, like, you know. And this is funny because for me, it took a long time with a lot of the same stuff, like starting to realize things and being like, oh, in the back of my mind, Catholicism, but like, no, you know.
Yeah.
I did a very similar thing, but I was like, come on, Steven, like, it's just. You know, figure that out later.
Well,
but you were like, no, I'm. But then I remember you would polo me and you'd be like, oh, Brent Petrie. And I'm like, yeah. And I would just kind of let you have it and just like let you say it and talk with you a little bit about it. But then you'd be like, John MacArthur said this, and I'm like, where? Like, because you started. It wasn't like things we were talking about.
No. I
you
went
were just
found
doing
things.
Your own thing.
Yeah. No.
And
I'd be like, what do you think
Yeah.
about this? Like, because I did trust you. Like, I was like, you did go to school for this. You do know what you're talking about. So I was like, what's your opinion on this? But I wasn't like gonna just blindly listen to you. I was like, no, I'm gonna like.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah, and so I was like John MacArthur. Well, I was like, John Barnett taught under, or no, sorry, John Barnett went to a school and was under John MacArthur.
John MacArthur, yeah.
So then I started looking into John MacArthur and seeing what he believed and what he was, and it took me a while to get into Calvinism. So then I asked you, I was like, okay, what is Calvinism? And you were like, well, I was a Calvinist at one point.
I was,
and
yeah.
so
it wasn't
like,
a fun time.
So I started like looking into that, and I'm like, well, this doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so I literally,
Steven's just like anything but Catholicism. Looking at
I was trying so hard to not be Catholic. I was like, I don't think anyone understands how much I hated Catholicism.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying so hard, but everything else was so wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Keep talking.
Yes. He's going. I'm going to keep talking. I'll talk to the camera for a second. So I'm doing all this studying. I'm looking up John Barnett. I'm looking up Calvinism. He's blowing his nose. I mean, they can't, there's no way they can't hear you. There's no way.
Yeah, but I'm not on camera.
I know, but I had to tell them what you're doing. So I'm studying all these things. I'm looking into the rapture and why the rapture is false. And when I mean false, I mean like I'm looking into when it started, what it is, all of this stuff. And I'm listening to Jimmy Akins, and I'm learning some Jewish history. I'm learning some of this, and like the Jewish history part was really bugging me. And actually, one of the reasons my aunt sent me John Barnett was because he was supposed to be really educated in Jewish history.
Mm-hmm.
So I started reading little bits and pieces of the Old Testament, not like full blown. I just went to Exodus. And like, so he was saying, well, they have incense and they have a tabernacle and they have this, and we don't have all that. So I went and read Exodus, and all of a sudden there's incense and a tabernacle and all these things. And I'm just like, so are you just full of it? and don't know anything.
You don't realize that the Old
I'm like,
Testament had
the
all
Old
that.
Testament. You're supposed to be. You're telling us about Jews of the time, yet the Jews have all these things. I'm going to Catholic church, and they have all these things. Still not Catholic yet.
Sure.
Still fighting this, but I'm like,
this is when you would see something and you go, interesting.
interesting.
There was like a whole season of this where Stephen would be like, I just read the book of Exodus today. And I'd be like, yeah. And he'd be like, and they had incense and an altar.
Oh,
interesting.
Yeah. And a menorah.
Yeah.
I was like, what is this lamp
yeah.
that they're talking about? What is this box?
Why
that
do they have a
holds
table
bread?
that has a bread of presents on it?
John 6
Yeah.
blew my mind to a whole new level, and I still didn't understand the Eucharist. And I was like, oh my God.
He doubles down. He triples down.
He quadruples down.
Yep.
And then everyone has the nerve to say it's a metaphor. Do you remember the metaphors?
Yeah.
I went on a polar rant of pretending to be God, speaking in metaphors. Because I was like, metaphorically, it's my body. Metaphorically, baptism.
Yeah. I do remember that. This was a turning point. You went to like the real dark, cynical humor.
I did.
Because you're like, none of this other stuff makes sense.
It
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense.
This is what was interesting about your journey, because you took a turn that I didn't expect you to, and I guess this is because, like you said, you're like, I underestimate myself a lot. You didn't come across as someone who would be like super into studying when we met.
No, I'm not at all.
Right.
I hate school.
Right. And so when you like, I was like, oh, when Steven learns a couple things, maybe he'll be open to it. And then I was like, oh, well, he's coming to mass. He's learned a couple things. Like, he's probably going to be like, yeah, I'm ready. And you were like, then you became like mega scholar nerd. And then you were like, I need a book on this thing. And I'm like, oh, this is the scholar for that. And then you're like buying this book that like I read in college.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is happening?
I have a lot of books I have to read.
Yeah. And now you're buying a bunch of like, yeah,
I have a lot
deep
of books.
Catholic scholarship. But like, you were listening to and reading people
That
from all different sources.
I was listening to every.
Yeah.
So, I have to give credit to Jimmy Akin though. Like that's.
I love how like most of the time you call him Jimmy Akins. He's like add an S to his last.
I do that. It's not. I know it's Akin, but I don't.
Jimmy Akins.
I'm also dyslexic. And
okay,
so
now
like,
I feel bad for laughing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's your fault.
It's
not my fault. It's yours.
That's fine.
It started like he was like a huge.
He's just like the most reasonable person in the world.
He is. And like there's things I disagree with him on, but it's like but he just was so like I don't know, his story was just so awesome about him and his wife, and like just started hearing that, and like here I am listening to all these people, and the one person I kind of relate with is like this guy who's kind of this huge nerd. And I'm like, I don't look like I'm a huge nerd, but like deep down, like that's what I am to my core. And I was like, I get this guy, and like I love this guy, and so that was just huge. I have to thank you because you were the one who said you need to watch this guy. He's weird and he's Catholic, and I'm not Catholic yet, but like I love his show. Go watch Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World.
So that's right. It was The Mysterious World.
I love that show.
Yeah. Well, that's just a good one because you drive so much.
I drive so much, and it
talks about the weirdest stuff.
Not all of it's Catholic.
Right.
And
Most
I'm
of
like,
it's not. Yeah.
No, but he gives you the faith perspective.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And sometimes I disagree, but like, I like him. Like he goes into detail.
Some of those episodes are crazy.
They
like
are.
the ghosts at the border one.
Yeah,
Did you listen to that one?
Oh, yeah.
That one was.
Yes, I think I've listened to at least half of the.
Wow.
I think there's over.
The
like
one
200.
on Kabbalah was really good too.
Which one is Kabbalah?
The Kabbalah Judaism scholar one, where he did like 2 parts about.
I don't think I did that one yet.
Oh, it's good.
I need to.
It's really good because it frames a lot of modern Jewish thought in some interesting ways.
My favorite is when he broke down Seventh-day Adventism, and I was like, oh. So I give a lot of credit to Jimmy Akin for how I learned a lot about other religions,
yeah, like the
or other
Restorationist
beliefs,
movement,
and So like when I say I went backwards. Like I was like, well, let's just.
It's funny because that was not the way I would have gone about it.
Yeah, I was like, well, I was so like, I gotta be able to
Let's look at
I didn't
everybody
even go to Catholicism. I just went
Yeah.
like, let's look at everybody else first. And honestly, it was let's look at what they say about Catholicism. You want to make someone Catholic? Lie. Do you know how many lies I've heard? Like, just last week, I finally finished my. It took me a year to get this, but someone, I don't know why Catholicism got brought up, but she was like, you do know that the Catholic Church started in 382 by Constantine, and that he changed the Sabbath to Sunday. So I went, really? Well, guess who went and looked all of it up? The only thing I couldn't prove, because, okay, anybody want to know? Constantine died in 337. Ooh, I know dates now all of a sudden. Oh, what you meant was the Council of Nicaea in 325, which Constantine wasn't really a part of, but he brought over 300 church leaders.
And were like until this moment had been like persecuted.
Yeah, because he actually made a thing. I think it was called. I'm gonna get this wrong. It wasn't. He didn't make it legal, but it was a. Damn it!
You're talking about the Edict of Milan.
The Edict, yes, where but
he
there
legalized
was a word,
freedom of religion.
But that wasn't
religions.
The tolerance.
Yeah.
It was a tolerance of religion, is how some people put it, and that's what I like to think is. Because it wasn't like all of a sudden freedom. It was like, no, we have to be tolerant. So the Catholic Church didn't start in 382. Sorry. In 382, the Catholic Church started by Constantine, but Constantine's dead.
I'm going to look something up while you're saying this.
So the Edict of Milan, but it was a law of tolerance to Christians because his mother was Christian.
Yeah, that's correct.
So I was like, I can disprove all of this except for the Sabbath to Sunday until last week. Last week, I learned that at the Council of Nicaea, they argued over the Paschal Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Not the Sabbath.
Not the Sabbath Sunday.
Correct, yep.
The Paschal Sunday. Because they were arguing over when to celebrate Passover. So like everything this person argued for, I now can literally break apart. That's what I've done. I have literally gone to the point where I can break apart. So you said
what date was it they say the church started?
382.
That's funny. So
because 382 would have been the emperor. I don't remember which emperor it was, but he made Christianity the religion
Theodosius.
Yes.
So 381 was the Council of Constantinople. Yes. But that was the Second Ecumenical Council.
Because 382 wasn't it? 382 was the Council of Rome, and then the Council of Hippo was 393, and then Carthage, or is Carthage? I get these ones.
So these are local councils.
Those are local, but those are the books when they were comparing scriptures. Was 382, 393, and 397. Carthage, Hippo, and Rome. But yeah, so he.
Yeah, it was 382. Yeah. Yep.
So.
Wow. Wow. I'm impressed. He knows dates that I often forget. That's pretty good.
So someone found these on his own. Yeah. So when she said 382, I was like, well, I'm going to go and prove all this. And so that's kind of like when people like, I was like, if you're going to make claims about Catholicism, I'm going to go look it up. That's this. I mean, it just opened doors,
right? Because you start realizing that most people just don't know what Catholics actually believe.
Yeah, right. And I was like, whoa, everything. Okay, if, and this really did open the door to me going, I think I'm Catholic. Was if everything that I have learned about Catholicism is wrong, what is right? And then I started reading the early church. Justin Martyr on the Eucharist.
I remember this because you're like, how do I read the early church and where do I find them? And I'm like,
I bought 3 books.
Good. Yeah, The Father's No
No,
Best.
I bought 4 books.
Yeah, you bought The Father's No Best by
And I
Jimmy
bought
Akin, and then you bought the William Jurgens series, there's early church fathers.
Yeah, the 3-book part.
Yeah, it's
I
like
didn't even
3
want
books.
I haven't even read the other 2 because I didn't care about
You went
anything.
to the earliest stuff.
I
yeah.
didn't want anything after 500.
Yeah.
I wanted everything before because I was like, 500 gives everybody credibility to their arguments. I need the earliest things I can find.
Yeah, before Nicaea is the best. If you can get stuff from there.
My
Oh, yeah.
God. Justin Martyr. When I read that, I was like, so the Eucharist is real. And we're doing this wrong. Mm-hmm. Who does it right?
Because Justin Martyr's like in the 100s.
155.
Yeah, and he's writing about
to 155.
and he's writing about the Mass, and it's literally
he writes about the Mass, and he writes about
something.
something else that just blows my mind. But so then you have that, and then you have 110. I can't remember who it is, but in 110 talks about bishops and is that Ignatius, and so he's talking. Yeah, so he's talking about bishops.
My boy.
And
to you, the bishop is Jesus Christ. Yeah,
priests and all of these things, and I'm like,
if anyone denies that the Eucharist really is the flesh of our Lord, he's a heretic.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
don't pray to such people. Yeah.
So I just started. Yeah. So I was looking into that, but to go back to everything else, I was just like, I literally was dissecting every other religion, like to get to this point, and I'm like, well, I can tell you that I would get in arguments that the rapture is not real. Mm-hmm. And then I'd find myself arguing like with Seventh-day Adventists, like because I know the story of how even like it started from the Millerites, and this lady got visions of God. She had over 1,000 visions of God or Jesus, and it doesn't they don't add up. And all of these things are happening what's funny is about the Seventh-day Adventists, and some Seventh-day Adventists believe in the rapture. But the rapture, so here's a fun fact. The Seventh-day Adventist was, I think, 1847. The world was supposed to end on October 21st, 1847, because the Miller had a doomsday clock that he figured in the Bible. Yep. It didn't happen. I'm pretty sure it was October 21st, 1847. So that was in America. Well, the rapture is being created in 1850s.
In Scotland.
Scotland.
Yeah.
So how did they mend together when they were in two different
Schofield
places?
Study Bible.
So,
yep.
And not only that, but we have Mormonism.
Coming out of the same, so that was all the restorationist movement that came from the Second Great Awakening. Yeah, which is really interesting.
And what did I learn at the beginning of the year? Maybe in March or April. Why do we have less books?
I remember
all at the same time. I'm learning all of this at the same time. You want to talk about what pissed me off the most? Actually, I didn't even finish studying it until 2 weeks ago. I was so pissed off. I didn't need any more. I didn't need to hear any more about why we don't have the Deuterocanon in our books. The moment because I always was taught that Martin Luther took these books out. That's not true. They're still there. They were called Apocrypha.
Yeah, he did say that they were not canonically the same as the rest of Scripture.
But he said they were beautiful and historical and should be used with the canon. And I'm like, interesting. I was told that the Catholics added 7 books at the Council of Trent. So why do we have a guy almost 25 years? Council of Trent is 1545, I believe, and we have 1540s. We have Martin Luther arguing at one point for the Deuterocanon as scripture in 1519.
1545.
Okay.
Yep.
See, I'm getting. I've studied, so I'm learning about why we don't have 7 books in our Bible. 1519, Martin Luther is in a debate, and he wishy-washies, flip-flops on, I can't remember what book it is, I want to say it's Ecclesiastes, but it might have been Wisdom. And at one point he says it is canon. And at the end of the debate, because it goes against what he's arguing, he goes, well, it's not canon. And that's a brief argument or telling of this. And I'm just like, why do we trust Martin Luther? So that that took me down a huge rabbit hole of where did we get this canon?
He did say, I'm trying to find quotes. That's okay. Keep going.
So this was like in March or April of last year, I think. And I came to you and I'm like, did you know?
I'm like, yeah.
And I'm like, oh man. And then, you learn about the British Bible Society and the Scottish Bible Society and how in 1820 the Scottish Bible Society wanted to take out the Apocrypha for one, because, well, Catholic or people are becoming Catholic because they're reading the Apocrypha, and two, it'll save us money. And then come to find out that the British Bible Society was going to not give other Bible societies money to print if they kept the Apocrypha in them, and most of Europe said, screw off, we want to keep those in it. Because they didn't consider the Bible a full, complete Bible unless it had the Apocrypha in it.
Right.
It wasn't
and
until
so to be clear, that's not to say that they would have thought that the Deuterocanonicals were a
no,
part of
and
the
none
canon,
of them considered it.
But
canon.
they wanted them printed at least in the Bibles they were printing for people.
But they didn't consider the Apocrypha canon, but they didn't consider the Bible a complete Bible without the Apocrypha.
Sure.
And that was all of Europe except for Britain and sadly America in 1816 because of money. Yeah. That pissed me off.
I remember this too.
And then so I started learning about, well, how did we even get the canon of 66 books? And then come to find out it was a fake council called Jamnia.
Never happened.
In 90 AD.
Yeah, didn't happen.
Well, what it was is the
Rabbi Akiva.
In
Jamnia,
decided for everybody on his own that this was the canon. But if you read the Talmud, they still argued
for like another 200 years.
No, till the 500s.
Oh wow, so like 400 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
So into like the mid 500s.
This is all Gary Mashuda, right?
This is Gary Mashuda.
Apocrypha Apocalypse.
Yes,
great channel.
Great.
Gary, what a guy.
But he breaks it down, and it's in the Talmud. They argue. They don't just argue if one book is in it and not. No, they argued 2 Apocrypha books, and one said it is canon, and one said it's not. It wasn't them saying it should, like, it was 2 of the books, and they're arguing over it. And there's proof. But I was like, wait, how did the Jews, not to be like, how did they have any authority to dictate what canon is? Because in the New Testament itself, we have 8 sects of Judaism that all disagree on canon. So we have proof in the New Testament that there isn't a canon. So why did the Jews in 90 AD get to make
after the resurrection,
after Jesus?
Already,
Why do they get to dictate what is canon and what is not? I'm sorry, no.
Right.
That doesn't work. It has to be decided by Christians. And that just opened a floodgate of like, well, we didn't have a Bible. So then I start learning about when we got books and when things were
written.
New
Testament books.
New Testament. And all of a sudden, I'm just like flooded with like, whoa. And then you learn that Martin Luther didn't like Revelation, and he didn't like Jude, and he didn't like James.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why are we giving Martin Luther credit? And
I can see your brain going. So that the canon was a big one for me too, because I remember going, like when I was really looking at some of I loved like the liturgical stuff and the prayers and that formational side of liturgy.
That
was later for you. That was first
I'm so
for
backwards.
me. the canon was one of the last things where I was like, wait a minute, let's think about these extra books. And then I immediately, almost that same point of like, because I saw the Council of Jamnia, and I was like, if that council determined the Jewish canon, why would we trust it? Because it's after. But then the council's not even real.
Well, even if it was real.
Even if it was real, yeah.
So what I learned is, okay, so I think it was Rabbi Akiva who in 70, when the...
at the Bar Kokhba revolt?
When they were destroying...
Yeah, the destruction of the temple. Which
he went and was like, please, Rome, don't kill us all. I'll get them to calm down. Will you let us leave? And so they went to a town of Jambia. Mm-hmm. And that's how they get there. And because he sucked up to him. Good. He saved a bunch of people's lives. But then he does something really stupid in about 120 AD. And
they
finds a new Messiah. And he goes and gets hundreds of thousands murdered.
Was that when Bar Kokhba was?
I think Bar Kokhba was. Bar Kokhba was the 120s.
Was he really?
I think that's the one.
Because I thought 120 is when they were in.
I think that's when the.
Oh no, you're right. Holy
cow! 120, 130s.
132.
Yeah. So that's when they found a new Messiah who was going to bring an uprising and got a few 100,000 Jews killed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, I had the date wrong on that. Yeah.
No offense, I just
like,
this is what I've been studying for the last year. And I bring this up in Bible study all the time, and I bring up things like that, and so yeah, I was like, I'm Catholic, but I'm not Catholic, and I'm not ready to be Catholic, and so I just studied all this stuff.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't realize the date on that.
Yeah. So,
I'm like trying to fact check you, and I'm like, dang.
Yeah. So this has been my life for the last year.
Well, that's a lot of the studying stuff.
That's a lot of the study. There hasn't been the spiritual parts yet.
Sure.
And
so in the midst of that.
Actually, it wasn't until 2 weeks ago I finally got the whole... I understood the Eucharist. I was like, okay, I get that.
Yeah, intellectually, the arguments make sense. Sure.
And I was like, that is, okay. So
now he's getting all excited.
So now I'm getting all excited because all of a sudden I can disprove, and I'm not gloating. I can disprove all these other things, but I cannot disprove Catholicism. Mm-hmm. So here I am. I'm in a rock and a hard place. So let's bring us to October.
Of
2022.
Okay.
So I've done all this studying. I can disprove John Barnett. I can disprove. So then I'm like, I've already promised my mom 2 years of studying. Well, I've done 2 years of studying in less than a year, so I think I'm good. I can't wait. I'm like, I have to do this. And so I'm like, Drew, I'm becoming Catholic, but I haven't told anybody. So I'm still studying, but I told my mom, I'm like, Mom, I'm going to become Catholic. And you want to talk about, this is when the battle really started and it went to hell. I love my mom. My mom is, I think also one of the reasons I am so easy with Mary is because of how much I love my mom. No offense, Dad. I love my mom. Like she's my best friend, and just like my whole journey for Christianity in general has been with her. And I just, it's been the hardest because that's the relationship that's been hurt the most from this. And so, sorry, this is the hard part. 'Cause like, not to go into detail, but she would say differently, but there was times she would not yell, but she said things that really hurt. And I just took it. And this was the angry part of becoming Catholic and having no one to talk to. And like literally the one person I want to talk to is my mom and tell her. And I still did. It didn't go well. Sure. But I was like, let me show you this. And I'm like, let me show you this. And like, and it's just been hell. And it's like that part of it as hell. I didn't even tell my dad, or my brother, or I didn't tell anybody. You, your wife, my mom, and Ryan, one of our friends.
Yeah, our friend Ryan, not your brother.
Are the
Ryan.
not my brother, but our friend Ryan were the only ones that knew I'm going to become Catholic.
So yeah, because you'd done all that studying.
So I did all this studying. I
kind of make the decision. It was after.
It was a person said, "You got to, I'm like, I'm
go
gonna
after
wait.
God with
it's
everything.
Like, you have to go after God with everything, and I'm like, I have to become Catholic.
Yeah, I remember that.
So this is October, and all of a sudden, there was just so much studying. There was so much we have hours and hours of talking about this, and and I know you kept pushing it, like you're like it's stupid, and I know why you said it was stupid, because I think you could see it before I could see it.
Yeah,
and it's like I was to the point there was no return.
Definitely,
it was like I see an authority structure, the Eucharist, baptism. Like, I'm all of a sudden, I don't agree. Like, I went and talked to my pastor, and I brought up, hey, I've been going to this church, and Mass. And he goes, Mass? That's crazy. And I go, yeah, we didn't talk about that. We talked about the other church in our church. And I'm like, why? Like, we're not talking. And I was kind of scared to talk about it, but like, we didn't talk about Mass. And I'm like, but there are some questions I have, like, Matthew 16 and John 20, 23. All right.
Is that with the
that is the forgiveness of sins.
Yeah. Jesus gives the apostles
I googled
forgive sins.
I know Google is so trustworthy. I tried to find someone to argue that. None. I could not find one argument besides, well, it's for everybody. Not one argument.
Yeah, whereas the Catholic would say, like, he's clearly talking to the apostles, and he's breathing the Holy Spirit on them. He's laying hands on them, and he's giving them the authority to forgive sins on earth. Yeah.
That blew my mind, that I could not find one argument against it. Got Questions was pretty fun, too, because I was like, wow, Got Questions. Got Questions. Someone sent me something about baptism, and Got Questions read Peter 3:21
versus baptism, which now saves you.
Which now saves you, and literally, actually, they might have been the person that website might have been the one that said this was all metaphorical, and with John 6, and actually, I think it was because we have to go back. I'm gonna pull it up. John 6. So they were saying it was metaphorically, and I. What happened? Sorry, I got you moved. You distract me now. All of a sudden, I'm brain fart.
Well, you were kind of talking about that turning point and that shift, and then your relationship with your
John
mom.
6. Yeah, no, but the John 6 thing. This is important because it all became a metaphor, and then we realized, because I talked to you about it being a metaphor. That's when we realized John has no parables.
Correct.
We were like, oh my God, John has no every other gospel has parables. John does not have one parable. He actually speaks in truth.
There's so many articles, I'm not going to find it. That's fine.
There's so many truths. And so all these people are like, well, John 6 is a metaphor. And I go, okay, well, at the end of John 6, it says, does this offend you? Will it offend you when you see the Son of Man ascend to where he came from? And I went, was that a metaphor? Because if it is...
I remember when you said this, actually, because I had never thought of that. And that's a really good point to, like...
If all of this was a metaphor, then why would he go straight to ascending into heaven?
Yeah, like, will you be offended when I ascend into heaven?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So... Well, it's a metaphor. So, if it's a metaphor, then it never happened, and Jesus isn't God.
Right.
So then the whole baptism thing, and I'm like, it now saves you. Well, it cleans you of dirt, and it's an outward expression. And I'm like, no, it's not.
It literally says the opposite.
It actually, if you go 2 verses before, or 1 verse before, it actually talks about how, Noah, in a boat is saved by the passing of water. And then I started like connecting things of like how important all of this actually is. Typology is amazing. Holy cow. So yeah, so me and my mom fighting. I am at this point where I'm just angry because I have no one to talk to, but I have all these cool things to tell people. And you know what's funny is I go to Bible study. No one knows I'm Catholic, but they like the things I'm teaching, which is I wasn't trying to be Catholic.
You weren't being as obvious as I was.
Well, no, but I was actually sticking more to Jewish things that like, well, this is what the Jews would have, how they would have treated it. And this is this. And I actually brought up at one point the 4 cups because I had listened to Scott Hahn explain that. And I was like, so this is, you know, how Jewish Passover is done, is this 4-cup ritual. And I didn't know it enough, but I brought it up. We're going to come back to this. So I have all these cool things. Someone really important to me says, wow, I like the last year I've seen you grow so much. Just the things you say, the way you talk, all of this, it's amazing to watch you grow. And it's like, if you only knew, it's because I'm Catholic. It's because I'm becoming Catholic. I'm becoming this person. And I don't think you know that. And if you did know that, you would take this back.
Did you say that to them?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I think they would take it back. So all of a sudden I have a lot of anger and I have a lot of resentment. And
do you think a lot of that was because you knew where you were going, you knew where this is coming from, and you just weren't sharing it with anybody?
It was, okay. I couldn't share.
Right. Because you were afraid of what the reaction would be.
I was afraid because again, I have a year of listening. And not only do I have a year of listening about how much Catholics are terrible and wrong, I also have a friend of mine being badmouthed, being called a deceiver without your name being. I knew
sure
it was you, and that pissed me off. But not only did it piss me off, but it scared me because I'm like, if I come out as Catholic, all of a sudden,
every time I say
it,
so funny.
The moment I say I am Catholic, I all of a sudden am going to become a deceiver,
sure,
or deceived. And I listened. It's as if they said this and didn't realize that I knew, which was weird. But it's like, how do you not know I know? You know I'm best friends with this person. I know exactly what you're talking about, but yet you treat it as if I'm stupid. Or you're being that way to try to coerce me out without saying anything.
Sure.
And to be honest, it's not going to work.
I think it's just really unfortunate, too, because like I think a lot of times when things like this happen, it would go better for everybody if, like, when something like this happened, like someone converts to Catholicism or the opposite direction, like say someone from our parish becomes Protestant. The thing not to do is to like throw red herrings at them or belittle their beliefs. Yeah, just talk to them, or like maybe just have some curiosity of like why. You know, like if someone became like Mormon, I'd be like, why?
We'll get to that
here
in a second.
You know?
Because so I'm learning all this stuff. I mean, like I'm to the point where I'm Catholic. I would love for someone to come disprove Catholicism to me, and because I like to debate and I like to argue, but I don't want it to be that. But I know at this time in my life, not right now, but like at that time, that's how it'd be, because I'm just it's so pent up at this point. And I know you and Gina got so much of just, I had nowhere else to go.
There were many late nights where you were drinking espresso.
There was, because I had nowhere to go. I couldn't talk to my mom. I couldn't talk to anybody. It was you. And so it was just building up. And like, and not only that, like when I say hell, it's been hell. It's been like, my life has also fallen apart at the same time. Like, and you can attest for this. There would be things that just don't make sense that are. It's as if the devil was like, rip that away.
Like the
rip that away.
the time when you were going to be in a commercial we were shooting for a commercial client,
somehow
and he gets
got
a black eye like 3 days before.
Still shot the commercial.
You're like, all this, you're like, everything bad is happening in my life.
No. Let's back up real quick. He goes, I'm like, all this bad stuff is happening in my life, and it's just, everything's falling apart. And he goes, well, at least you're going to be in a commercial. And I go, oh, no. There's still time. And then I show up with a black eye.
Black eye. And we still got to shoot the commercial. We just had to put makeup on.
A lot of makeup on. But it's
I should make the thumbnail of this video you getting makeup
on. Just But it's like, no, like when I mean like my life was falling apart, it was like everything I did, nothing would go my way. And you can attest for this.
Yeah, it was really bad. Like everything
weird.
You tried in your personal life.
Yeah,
did not go well for you.
Yeah, everything would fall apart.
Like I think the only thing that was going well for you is that you were studying and finding really rewarding insights into what you were studying. But then on the other end of that, it's going back to you can't tell anybody. So
I can't tell anybody, so it's pent up.
Sure.
And then everything I do is as if it was like. It's like when you, I don't know, that's not a good analogy because I don't fish very much, but like, you know, when you fish and you get one and it's on the line and you're reeling in and it's like a fight. And then all of a sudden it just snaps.
That's the worst feeling in the world.
So
by the way. I hate when
you hate that feeling. But now take that into every aspect of your life.
Yeah.
It's like there's a little bit of excitement. Things are going your way. And then all of a sudden snap. And it's literally, and you said it would happen. You said just wait, like life's gonna. But I don't even think you anticipated.
Oh, yours was much worse than. So Gina and I went through this when we like made the decision. We're like, I think we got to do it. We got to become Catholic. Like things started sucking. There was like a lot of spiritual warfare and stuff like that. But you got double. Triple what we got.
It was weird.
It was weird.
Yeah, and it was just like it would literally be one thing after another, after another, after another.
And it was honestly almost comical.
It was
like
to everybody else, but to me it was like
I
don't know how many times I broke down. Just like, why is nothing working?
Yeah,
like it's almost as if the devil was saying, "You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong." And every time I just went, bring it on. And then I'd say bring it on and I'd be like, why did I do that? Because it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And it was like there was one weekend, I think we went to Phoenix. We went to Latin Mass
at an FSSP parish.
And I did not enjoy it.
Yeah. Sorry. We went to a low
Well,
mass.
no, and it wasn't even, it's like all of a sudden I was like, I literally was like, is this right? Like, that was like a moment of like, am I wrong?
Sure.
Was going to this. And it was because I didn't know what they were saying. I had no idea what was going on. And all of a sudden, like, you guys all left like, this was amazing. I left. We didn't talk. I didn't talk. You guys talked.
Yeah.
I didn't talk the entire time because I went, I don't know about this. All of a sudden, I was so confident that Catholicism was right and true. And all of a sudden, I was just like, I don't know if I believe in this. I don't know if this is true. And then we get home, and I get in a huge fight with my mom. And then I asked to have that girl, and she said yes, but then no. And then something else happened. And then it just like, it was like one thing after another, just piling and piling and piling. I broke down so bad. I can't remember who, like, it didn't just start there. Like, it was like one thing after another. Oh, it was like the Bible study. All of a sudden I have to be like, I'm saying certain things and then someone would say something and like, it just hit me. And
they started, I feel like, was that when because there were a couple months leading up to
it's hard to remember because like it all kind of just blends.
That's when I feel like it almost, because I remember there was a couple, and I don't know, you were there, so, but you would tell me after, like, I feel like around December, so this was when we got back from Phoenix.
Yeah.
This would have been when we got back from Phoenix. You were going, and it almost At least the experience you related to me is it seemed like they were. It seemed like they knew you were Catholic and were saying mean things on purpose. Like it just seemed like they started laying on thick, but they had no idea.
But they had no idea. But
So,
it's like
yeah,
all of a
that's
sudden,
weird.
all these weird things start happening, and like, oh, so like, I literally would be. So I dated a girl, and then luckily she broke up with me.
Mhm.
But then like, it was almost like as if she broke up with me for a reason because this one thing opened up, the thing I wanted more opened up. But then it was literally just a like. It literally everything I wanted, everything that I was going for was so close and then just taken.
Pulled away at the last second.
Last second,
Yeah.
everything. And it just kept happening. And then just piling on of like, I'm not telling anybody any of this and like and then this and that and like hell and I'm just like my relationship with my mom and I don't know oh that's what happened. Someone's gonna watch this, who cares? So my Bible study, this is the first week of January, so the girl I asked out that I liked ended up bringing a guy to a New Year's party. That sucked. But then he joined the Bible study.
Sure.
It was like the final thing.
Just like gut punch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
And
like none of these things are related
nothing's
to you becoming
related.
Catholic.
It just
was
it
like
felt like
okay.
my life was falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
It literally felt like my life was going the right direction, but then the rug pulled out from under me in every aspect. And not just dating, but like everything you could
dating,
imagine.
friendships, family,
all this stuff.
Personal work.
And it's all leading up
Black
to
eyes.
Black eyes. It's all leading up to this moment where I thought that was bad. And then it gets worse. And I'm doing a rosary one night, like the most
super angry
rosary. Like I'm mad and I am just furious and I am just doing this rosary. And right at the end of it, I go, I have to tell everybody I'm Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was just like poloed you real quick. Like, I have to tell everybody I'm Catholic.
This is funny too, because so like from my perspective, you saying this was almost like this is almost happened like 3 times in this whole journey. Because when you first started asking questions and coming to mass, I'm like, oh, Steven's become Catholic this Easter, and I'm like, become Catholic, and you're like, no. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna lay off. And then you were like, okay, I have. And then on your own accord, you're like, all right, we're back on. I'm like, whoa, okay. And then the next time it was like, you're like, I think I'm ready to become Catholic, but I'm going to wait 2 years. I'm like, you should just do it. And he said, no. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to do it. This is the same thing. You were like, I'm like, when are you going to tell everybody? This is eating away at you. And you're like, I'm going to wait till like March. We're going to just
like a week before.
Yeah. Like, hey guys, I'm becoming Catholic next week. You want to come?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, I'm telling them next week. And I was like, oh snap. Like Gina and I are like getting the popcorn ready. We're like, what the heck? Why, So it's funny. You do that. I'm like, this might help. And you're like, no, I'm going to put it off. And then like later, you're like, I'm doing it now.
Yeah.
So
I have to
it's
pretend
funny.
that it's always my idea.
Sure. Yeah. Sure.
So.
Well, you do things on your own accord. That's
I do.
certainly true.
I do. I don't let anybody tell
I mean,
me
for
what
the
to
record,
do.
I think if anyone listens to this and believes that you're being genuine, which you
I
are.
hope so.
You can't say that it was just like me forcing you to be Catholic or influencing you
actually,
too much.
it would be the opposite.
Yeah.
I was trying so hard to prove you wrong.
I know. But
now I know a lot of weird things.
Right. I was going to say, I think what you had said it earlier is like looking into anything I had said. Because like if I was wrong, you would have found out.
Yeah.
And if I was right, you would have found out. And it wasn't about me. It wasn't things I had come up with.
No.
You found a lot of the things I had found that put me on the same path earlier.
Literally,
Yeah.
it was just finding, like, I was like, well,
history.
History.
Okay, so anyway, you decide you're going to tell everybody at this Bible study.
Everyone. And so I get to the Bible study the next week. So like my life's just falling apart. Like literally, like this is the I because I can't fully remember everything because it's just kind of a blur of like how much it sucked. It doesn't give it enough credit for how bad it's been. But like every ounce of my being, that I feel like if you were, I don't know how to explain this, but like if you, somehow all of the pain kept pushing me to God. Like you would think like, oh, all this stuff's falling apart, nothing's going your way yet. So you'd be like, well, maybe it's wrong. But like the fact that all of it was going wrong, and it like, not to like be like, oh, my story is like Job, but like to compare to it is like, my life's falling apart. I must be doing something right. Because it's like, I've never been attacked like this in my life. And you actually told me, you need to treat things more like, because I was not someone who would be like,
you do not over spiritualize things.
I don't
ever.
know. I'm very, maybe it was the devil, maybe it's God. I don't know.
Whatever.
Yeah. And you're like, maybe you should kind of treat it a little more in like,
spiritual
warfare is real. But I was very like,
thing
the world sucks.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I'm just like, okay, this feels like not God, but like God's allowing this to happen, and the devil is trying to keep me from something. And so I was like, God, I don't know what you need me to do to prove to you that this, I'm not going away from this. Like, I guess keep piling it on, but like, it sucks and it's hard and I can't do this without you, but I'm not like nothing. The only thing that will keep me from experiencing the Eucharist is death, which is great because guess what? Then I get to go to heaven and be with you. So cool. But literally the only thing that's going to stop me from being present with you on earth is you have to let the devil kill me, which I still win. Cool. Like I was like, bring it on. It sucks and it's hard and it's hell, but whatever. I know this is true. There's nothing that's going to stop me. And, so I was like, so I'm going to go tell these people. And so the whole Bible study, that was the most nervous I've ever been in my life. Literally. I've never, like, I'm a nervous person.
Yeah.
And I get nervous and I get sweaty. And I literally was so shaking. Like everyone could tell something was wrong with me. And finally at the end, like it just kept dragging on and on. And I'm just like, I would really like to tell all of you I'm Catholic. Can we get to the end? Because I wanted to wait till the end. And finally I'm like, okay, I got something to say. And I'm like, I love you guys. Because I do. Like, to say I don't love these people would be an understatement. Like, the reason Bible study was so hard for me, like, because I was like, I know I'm going to lose this. Because I actually do care about those people a lot. Like, it was kind of like a little family that, like, I started with someone else. And so I'm like, I'm going to lose all of this in this moment. So, like, that's why I'm nervous. Like, I'm coming in here for an execution. I'm coming in here for this to be the last time I ever step foot in here. And I just told him I love all of you. This has been one of the highlights of my life, is this Bible study, and just to watch and see how it's grown. However, I've been studying a lot and praying a lot, and I'm going to become Catholic on Easter. And so, to my shock, well, are you still going to come back to Bible study? And I'm like, yeah, if you guys want me to. So I'm like, so all of a sudden, like, weight's off. And I get a text message from someone else like, I don't hate Catholics. I'm like, yes, you do. But that's cool. She's like, but like we can talk and everything. And I'm like, okay, I didn't lose any friends. And a couple days later, that's, I think, when it first finally set in of like, I knew I wasn't a leader anymore. And which is fine. But I was all of a sudden now I'm going to be watched on what I say. I'm like, cool. Is this even worth going to anymore? And this is the part that hurts. This is like, there's a lot of hurt, but like, it was as if I wasn't a person. Like, well, I know you hang out with Drew a lot, so it doesn't surprise me. So, and I just went into like, well, it's not because of Drew. It's actually like I've put in hours of studying, and it didn't just, I was looking at this and that, and like I was trying to disprove Catholicism, but I can't. But I got treated as if I don't have my own mind. I don't have my own thoughts. Like I just fall in line. And that's the part that hurt the most. It's as if I got a doctorate myself, did all the work, and then at the end of it, they handed me the diploma and said, well, this is because your parents paid for it. Not because you put in any work.
I'm sorry, that's a funny analogy. But yeah, that's painful.
And it's like, I've never in my life studied like this.
You read a lot and listened to a lot.
I did.
And I remember seeing that, and I was like, because like, I mean, for a long part of this, like initially I feel like you had a lot of discussions with me, and it was like maybe me telling you things and then you looking them up. But then the last like probably like 6 to 8 months of this, you have just been finding things and then telling me what you found. And I'm like, yep, that's what I found too. Or like you found things that I was like, whoa, I didn't know that. And then you're like, God, I'm fun. Yeah.
It took me a year, but I got you.
Oh man.
I created a, what is it called? Like so my mom challenged me to go back a few months. This was probably November. My mom challenged me on an R.C. Sproul's video. So just to be clear on how much I have studied and put into this, she gave me a 20-minute video on R.C. Sproul's debunking Mary and how Catholics just make stuff up. She said, show me why this is wrong. So I made a lecture. I didn't even get to do my lecture. I made a lecture of why R.C. Sproul's is an asshole and wrong.
Oh.
Sorry. Rest in peace, sir.
That was a tough one though, because he was saying a lot of things that you knew were blatantly false, and it felt like a direct challenge. So there's some bitterness, but
it was bitter. But you gotta also remember this is also in the peak of angry.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. So now I have to disprove. So she gives me this 20-minute video. I watch it or listen to it 3 times. On the 4th time, this is on the road. On the 4th time, I wrote down. I broke down every point he made in a 20-minute video. I have a notebook full of every point he made, whether it was Catholic or not. I broke it down. I stopped it, wrote it down, stopped it, wrote it down, broke it down. Point by point, everything he said. And then went and proceeded to listen to 10 hours of R.C. Sproul's sermons. Found every time he contradicted himself. somehow found every moment he contradicts himself in this 20-minute video of why Mary and the dogmas are wrong. Of, I think it's the Annunciation is 1856.
The Assumption, you mean?
Or Assumption is 1856. And he said, well, no, that was the Immaculate Conception, because he said, because 1856 and then 1858, or is 1854, and then in 1856, Mary just magically appeared and said, I am the Immaculate Conception, to prove that the Catholics were right. And so he was being a little like, oh, how convenient. And so his point was like, well, they made it up in 1854. And I went and found, I go like, just to say, Mom, here's a problem. If the Catholics made up, my point was not to prove Catholicism made it up. My point was to prove that it was already believed. So I go, Mom, if the Catholics made this up in 1854, as he claims, then why does the Eastern Orthodox also agree on it to a point? Well, no, yes, some of them. But they broke off from the Catholic Church in 1054. That is 800 years before. So how does a Roman Catholic Church create something that someone else believes? That was my point. And then I got into Martin Luther, who he praises so much, and Martin Luther would call him a heretic. John Calvin, who he is a Calvinist, would call R.C. Sproul a heretic. One, because they both kept Mary at a very high standard. Actually, Martin Luther went to the point to call Mary a co-redeemer of sorts. And then he proceeded to say how horrible that is to say that Mary would be a co-redemptrix. So yes, Martin Luther and John Calvin would call R.C. Sproul a heretic. His heroes. Hilarious to me. But I'm like, I literally spent 14 hours studying R.C. Sproul. And I know that's not a lot. But like
that's a lot of content though.
That was a lot of content in a row. That was 14 hours straight.
Yeah.
That wasn't I listened to a video here and did a little. No, I listened to 10 hours straight of sermons of him, plus this other one, and then proceeded to write out everything plus everything I could find on Mary that preceded before any of that. So I found the feast day of the Immaculate Conception, or the Annunciation, which was in like the 500s. Found that. That's weird. So his claim that the Catholic Church just creates dogma, and then proceeds to defend creating dogma in one of his sermons about how, well, heresy is actually a good thing because that forces us to define doctrine. So what was then those councils where they brought up Mary? Oh, well, 1854, I'm pretty sure they were there was something happening that was making people not believe, so they were like, no, this is what we have believed. The thing that you said councils are for is what they were doing. The 1956 one, or 54, that was the Annunciation one.
Oh, the Assumption.
Or the Assumption.
Yeah.
That one was based off of World War II, which some people might think bad timing, but the Pope was trying to bring hope to people. It wasn't, but he wasn't creating a like he wasn't creating something that wasn't believed. But it's like, that was my whole point, is like, I literally spent so much time.
That one, the Orthodox do pretty much all believe, which is really interesting. Yeah. That's like the latest one.
The latest one,
but it goes really, that one's even easier than the Immaculate Conception to find universality.
But like, I was just like, I'm not here to prove Catholicism right here. I'm here to show that he's wrong.
Yeah.
And he was 100%. Because his argument was the Catholic Church just creates dogmas or doctrines out of thin air. Okay, let's talk about sola scriptura. Let's talk about sola fide. Like, they came from nothing. But yet, I can show you proof that these things were already believed. I can show that these things are real, but you won't even go look or take a second. I know he's dead, and it's like it's mute at this point, but it's like there's so many people that just believe this.
Well, yeah, as I say, I think what the painfulness for you in that it seems like is it's not necessarily about him or his content.
It's
that
the people that follow that.
It's that you know so many people who just copy paste that exact view,
and it's so
without
wrong.
questioning it. Yeah.
And I'm like, and I can, and that was my mom's like challenge, and I'm like, challenge accepted, and here I am, and I've got it.
Yep.
So like, which has been, it's like, but it's like it's been hell, but at the same time, like, I can literally. He's got allergies, people. Yeah, I can. Oh boy. Yeah. I don't know. It's just, how do you believe this?
I just would like to be able to breathe while we finish.
No, that's fair. But I'm just like, I don't like. It's starting to. I'm getting to the point where it's like, if I can find this, why can't you?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you not want to? Do you want to just sit here and say, well, they make up stuff? Okay, well then, but I can show you that that's not true. So like Christmas, holidays are fun to me because there's so many, like Christmas is so great because everyone sits here like, oh, it's pagan and it's this and it's based off Zeus's birthday or Sol Invictus. And I'm like, okay, well, let's actually break this down. Sol Invictus was not created until 274. And it's actually 3 separate holidays, and the least of them is the December 25th one. There's a week-long festival, and there's a 3-day festival, and then there's the 1-day festival, which is December 25th. That was in 274. Christmas was actually based off of his death, not his birth, and it was based off of, I think it was
was it Hippolytus of Rome?
Hippolytus of Rome in 204.
So this is like 70 years before.
70 years before has a theory, let's say, of
Jews commonly believe that a righteous man died on the day he was conceived. Yeah.
And it's like, where is that from? I don't care where it's from. We have something in 204 of he died. They think his theory is he died on March 25th, the year 33, in the year of the guy. I can't remember, Titus or whatever the guy was. Thus, 9 months later is December 25th.
That also lines up too, because a lot of church fathers speculated based on their math that the creation of the world was on March 25th.
And like there's an argument for the date,
so it makes sense that
it does. It makes sense. You can argue though, because like the Eastern Orthodox Church believes it's the 6th of January, which
that's just because they use the Julian.
They use the Julian calendar, not the Gregorian
calendar,
and so it makes sense. But what it shows is that it was already the dates were already talked about before Sol Invictus Day was ever a day. And so this is what's funny to me is the only thing that talks about Sol Invictus Day being on the 25th is a Christian writing in 354. And then the only reason Sol Invictus Day is an argument in the first place is because of an Eastern Orthodox, I believe, priest in the 1100s who said the Pope of the time created Christmas to go with Sol Invictus to morph it. And it's like, that's the only reason that was an argument. Was an Eastern Orthodox priest in the 1100s. Well, he seems a little biased. It seems like everyone's a little biased and just comes up with their own things. And it's like, but, and so many people are like, well, Sol Invictus Day, Saturnalia, what is the 21st? The lunar...
Oh, the winter solstice.
Winter solstice. Yeah. Okay, there's some argument to the winter solstice and the spring equinox because they do kind of line up in a way. But even the Jews used the spring equinox and the winter solstice because we use stars in astrology and it was important. So like that, to me, that argument doesn't hold. But it's like, I've learned these little things, and learning about Halloween, like that pissed me off too. It's like, Halloween's not satanic, and it's not this, it's actually Christian. But it's like all these little things. It's like, I don't understand how I can easily go find them, but you won't even try. You'll just spew nonsense. And yet I'm crazy. That's been the biggest thing, is I'm crazy.
Yeah, you're viewed as crazy for investigating.
For
Sure.
looking at facts. I'm viewed as crazy and I'm a deceiver now. If anybody in my Bible study became Catholic after me, it's because I'm a deceiver. I'm the devil, and I tricked someone into becoming Catholic. Or there's some truth to what I'm saying, and you're scared. And I think
Well, I think the important thing is it's not even about what you're saying. Like, you're not making anything.
No, and I never
up.
like, that was the other thing. It's like, I don't make anything up. I have receipts. I will bring the paperwork to prove my point. Actually, there was something I brought up, which I touched on, was the 4-cup ritual. And then I was undercut and told that, well, actually, people argue that that's not real, and it doesn't matter which cup he drank from. And it's like, yes, it does. It actually does matter, because he's Jewish, and he would follow Jewish traditions. Whether they were in the Bible or not, he would still follow Jewish traditions. And Jewish scholars who look at it go, where's the 4th cup? So weird that even Jews would recognize it. It's actually Christians. It's actually Protestants who disingenuine it, and it's Jews and Catholics who recognize. And not only is it Jews of the time, it's Jews now. We'll look at it and go, where's the 4th cup? So it's like, you want to call me a deceiver, but yet you will undercut me and kind of lie. Or I don't know if you're lying, but like, you don't want truth to be spewed because it might prove.
And you're just talking generally about like
about it, yeah.
Well, but the people's responses is like they want to assume malicious intent on your part.
On my part, yeah,
but without doing,
yeah. Like I have, like I'm saying, like I can show you where I found it. Now, is my source wrong? Sure, but I can show you my source. Can you show me yours? And that one's tough, because it's like, I guess it's like, I can show you this. I can show you.
Well, that's the hard thing about this part of it, and I can kind of speak to this. Yeah. We've talked about this before. Like, having gone through it, you kind of start to feel like a madman, because
you feel you are treated crazy, and then you start to feel crazy.
And you've done like, I felt this way too, because I was like, I've read so much, and it's like one of those things where like you read so much obscure minutia about this thing that like gives you the plethora of evidence that leads you to this new view. Like, you've encountered information in an abundant amount that just, you can't help but change your mind. And the people you're talking to don't even have a grid to understand the depth of that information.
No,
and it's not because they're stupid. They just haven't gone on that journey. The curiosity's not there.
And that's something I'm learning, is because the amount of studying I've done in the last year is not a typical amount of studying for anybody, unless you are in a master's.
Sure.
Or like,
well, and even then,
I'm like, the things I have learned in an amount of a year, like, it's not even fair to be like, I don't understand why it took me a year to get to this point, but it's
been a little longer than that.
Well, it's been a little, but like a year of like just
going
grinding.
Hard, yeah.
So it's like, in their defense, I have to have some grace, because the things I've seen, I had to go find, and I had to take the time.
You really had to put in a lot of work.
I've put in a lot of work, and it's not fair to be like, why can't you see it? Well, I didn't see it for how long?
Well, I did the same thing to you. I was like, why don't you want to just become Catholic now? And you're like, wait a minute. So this is a pattern of conversion.
It is a pattern.
And I think a part of it, though, is like, when you find, it's like Jesus' parable, like a man found a treasure in the field and went and sold everything he had to buy that field because of what was in it. You have literally dug with your bare hands in a desert field and found that treasure. And then everyone else is looking at you going like, dude, why are you digging in the dirt? And you're like, why aren't you digging in the dirt? And they're like, what? Why would I do that? You're stupid. But you're like, you don't know, but you can't do that for somebody,
No.
you know? And it's really hard because you also can't create the desire to like, well, maybe there is something in the dirt. Maybe
No,
I
you
should
can't.
dig. How
And that's what
long
I'm
do I
learn-
dig?
and
Where
that's
do
what
I
I'm trying to
go?
learn.
Yeah.
It's really hard because
Mhm.
it's like, and like, because I have put like, I have a degree. I would say I have a 4-year degree.
We should
in
find a
theolo-
university to give
Yeah.
you an honorary
Yeah, I have
bachelor's
a
degree in
4-year
theology.
degree that I accomplished in 1 year.
I do have to say, like, it is pretty amazing to me that, because, so, I mean, I went through 4 years of theological undergrad at a non-denominational college and also obsessively studied in that period and obsessively studied for another 3 years after that and then became Catholic. You met me at the very tail end of that, which is really funny because like all the people that met me when I moved here, they probably only think of me as Catholic because they met me right as it was like, you
Yeah.
know, but I'm like, man, this whole history. But what I want to say is you went from being somebody who I feel like when I would talk, I would say something heady and use a big word or whatever. And you didn't have the language because you didn't know the stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
You went from like, I probably couldn't have had a high level theological conversation with you to now there's probably not a theological conversation I'm capable of having that I can't have with you.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge difference. And like, I'm not trying to say like, look at how smart I am and how smart you are.
Yeah.
But like the amount of knowledge that you have gained has gotten you to a competency that you're listening to top level academic scholars give academic presentations and you're able to at least digest it on some level, you know? I mean, some of that stuff is so heady that you and I both are like, what? But the fact that you can competently listen and digest it and start to process it and implement that thinking, I think is a testament to the work you've done, which is cool. But yeah, that's the hard part is you get to that point and you have this ferocity, right? And that's where you're at, and that's where I'm still there in some ways, but in a lot of ways,
I
like
want everybody.
you just want everybody to know what you found.
I want everyone to feel like not the hell part.
Yeah, that
but
part's
like,
not fun. Yeah.
No, it's not fun, but kind of want everybody to go through it because I'm like, if you have an easy conversion to this, I'm gonna be upset because mine suck.
Sure.
But no, I like my mom's like, you're such an asshole, and I'm like, it's because I can't talk to you. But if you could just hear what I've learned and just like actually listen to me, and just because anytime I actually do talk about what I've learned, there's a passion and it's there.
Mm-hmm.
It's the argument that comes from it, or the now I have to defend what I believe.
Yeah, the
That's
defensiveness
the
doesn't help.
defensiveness that I have to be like, well, but if you actually like break down like what I've learned and I just get to say it and teach, or not even teach, just speak what I've learned, there is passion and there's this gratitude towards it. And
what do you think it is that's so captivating about the faith? Because when you're talking about this, I think this is the important thing. Because what is it that is? What is it about the faith that's so captivating to you? I mean, obviously, you would say on one level it's true and like academically and historically, but like there's something more than that. You're talking about that gratitude, that thankfulness, that passion.
So I guess this is a hard one for me because it's like there's a lot, but it's like I think what it is for me is there's so much more. Because at first it was just like Jesus died for me, and you know, like part of me is like, oh, I can still just live the life I want to live, and you know, God comes second. Where like when I said it's not about me, that's been the biggest shift. Is like I finally get it. It's like I don't go to church for me. I go because he wants me. Like I don't treat it as like I have to. I want to be there. Like it's not like I feel bad missing mass. Like I like when I'm on the road, I don't go to mass, and I'm like, and like if I miss mass, like I missed Christmas, and it sucked, but I was sick. But it's like, it's like I don't feel like I know like it's an obligation, and I get that, but it's like to me, it's not an obligation. It's I want to be there, and because it's not, it's like, it's not about me. For once in my life, I feel like I've been kind of a selfish person, and it's always about me and what I want. It's like I finally understand life's not about me, and it's about God. And getting to go to church, it's beautiful. Scott Hahn's book just really changed my perspective on
The Lamb's Supper.
The Lamb's Supper, the Eucharist, and just heaven on earth in that moment. And it's like, oh my, I can't wait to. I know I'm not gonna feel it. Like, I'm gonna go take it, and it's just gonna be like another thing. But it's like, but I get to, like, even though I'm not gonna feel it, I know it's real. Wow, like, there's something about it that's just, it's more. It's not just a symbol. It's not just an outward expression of I believe in God. No, it's like I get to partake in something. I get to be a part of this thing that's so much greater than me, so much grander. Like, I'm nothing. And I want people to feel that. It's such a weird thing to.
And you're specifically kind of meaning with the Eucharist right now, in a way.
The Eucharist, I just mean the body, like the family, like
the Catholic Church.
I've never felt unified at church. Like, it's always been about me. Like, I go to church for me. I go to church to hear a message, and I go to church to just the music, and the music sucks, but maybe what he says is going to be good today. I don't go to church anymore for me. It's for God. And it's like, now I'm starting to learn the, like, family part to it. It's like, we're all partaking in this at the same time. We can do it every day. The church isn't like, it's open. I don't know. It's like, I don't know how to explain it. It is.
No, that's beautiful.
There's beauty in all of it. And it's like, everything means something. Before, when I got baptized, I was told, this doesn't save you. It's just something you do. And I went, yeah, I know. Oh my God. No, it does. It means so, there's so much more to it. It's so... it's like, I don't even know how to express it, but it's like every detail matters. Everything I do matters. Like, I finally feel like it took me so long to figure out what God's will was. Because I used to think God's will was, what am I going to be? What am I going to do? Like, who am I going to marry? No, it's about becoming holy. And like this trip, the thing I need to work on now, like, I've got the knowledge, but this thing I've got to work on now is my spiritual life. And like, I want people to see God in me. And in order for that to be, I need to let God do work in me. But I get to be a part of it. And it's like, and it's not about, nothing matters. It doesn't matter if I am rich or poor, famous. None of it matters, because that's not his will. His will is for me to become holy and sanctified. And it's like, how do you do that? Well, you have to let God work. You have to let God move you. And it's like, I'm finally starting to get that, because that's never been my life. I wish some people would realize that, because there's so many times it's like, well, God wants me to be this, and God, no. Like, and I think I've said that, I think that's been one of my biggest shifts, is like, God doesn't care about, like, I know he does. And like, but like, I mean, like, he doesn't care if you're a doctor or a lawyer or this or that. He cares about if you go do that, you have him at your, like, he is in front of you for it. Like, if you choose something, like, one of the things, like, my counselor I had, he passed away, but he kept telling me God doesn't care what you do. He just wants you to make a choice, but he wants you to be in it with him. And it's like, wow, I can do whatever I want as long as it takes me towards God.
Mm-hmm.
So if it doesn't take me towards God, then obviously don't do it. But that's not his will. His will is whatever you do, just let me work in you. And I want to be, and I know I'm going to go in and out of it, but there's going to be moments where it's like I feel more with God than others, other days. But it's like I finally get that. And it's like, confession just seems kind of cool to me, because like I think we kind of talked about this a little bit, but like the reason you go to confession isn't to, oh, you need a priest to forgive you. And it's like, no, it's to partake in something. It's so that you can be clear to go partake of this amazing thing, that we don't want your soul to die. We don't want you to perish by taking this in properly, because it's so amazing. So it's like confession. It just, everything has changed into this. It's like it's almost like a perfect circle of things coming together. I don't know how to, like, I really don't know how to explain this. It's like,
I mean, the sacraments take every part of human life, even mortal failure, and can and orient it
redeem.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just bumped
Whack.
Someone said, marriage is just, whatever. And I'm like, and then I heard a priest say, I'm not married. It's the one thing in the world I want more than anything. And it's like the furthest thing from me. And, but he said, marriage is it's like you get to be a priest of your family. I'm like, okay, that's actually really cool, because I get to lead my family. Like, it makes marriage more than just two people getting married because they love each other. It's like, no, it's changed my perspective on marriage. It's changed my perspective on everything. Like, you get to sacrifice yourself for somebody else. So Jesus, who sacrificed himself for me and you, I get to go do that too for somebody else. Okay. Wow. She's a little upset. You didn't hear that.
Oh, I heard. Yeah, the baby. Well,
we're back.
We're back.
We're back.
Technical difficulty, child difficulty, I guess, but we got it under wraps. So, poor girl, not feeling the best, but
not our kid.
Yeah, my kid.
His kid.
Yeah. Yep. So, anyways, I think we had kind of been talking about the beauty of the faith and what's drawing you to it, because we spent a long time, with all your frustrations and your story, and it's been a hard journey. But at the end, all the suffering, the beauty's been worth it.
Yeah. So I guess like the last, like, just the, if that, like the Eucharist, like it all comes kind of back to that. It's like, if that truly is Jesus present, if that's really his flesh and his blood, which, like, I can't deny it. And it's like, that's beauty. And it's like, there's so many things. Like, I remember kind of talking about, like, we were in Mark and like the temple being destroyed, and like I was so adamant on everyone else was end times, and I'm like, the temple being destroyed, focus on the temple being destroyed. Like, that's what he's talking about. And they're like, no, end times, what's gonna come? And come to find out, they're the same. And I'm like, oh. Like, but neither of us were right. Like, I was I was focused on the temple, and they were focused on what's coming next for us. And I'm like, well, like, I was just like, but come back to the temple being destroyed, because like it's so much more. And it was actually I think Judaism too like has become super beautiful. And because I was trying to prove something in the Talmud for somebody else had brought up something about, because we were in the end times, they're like, well, only the Father will know. And I feel like this is somebody else, they're like, I feel like there's something in Jewish tradition where when a husband and a wife are about to get married, it's the father of the bride that picks the date. And that's why Jesus keeps referencing that. And I was trying to find it, and because I'm like, I don't know if that's in the Bible or if it's an outside source, because I was like, I've heard it before and I believe it. I don't know if it's how true it is, but I was like, I felt like I've heard this before, so I was trying to find it in the condensed Talmud, not the $3,000 Talmud, but the very, very small one. So I went to marriage, and like I found this passage. Oh, because we were talking about marriage too, anyways. About being a priest of your family, and but I found this little thing where it said, this is where the temple and the end of the world kind of clicked. Was it said, if a man were to lose his wife to death, it would be as if the temple itself were destroyed. And I was like, oh, it would be as if the world ended. That means when the temple was when God's saying heaven and earth, that the old earth and the old heaven will be destroyed and the new heaven and the new earth will come. Oh my God, it is the temple. It is the temple being destroyed is the old heaven and the old earth being destroyed. And Jesus is bringing in the new heaven and the new earth.
It's already here,
and
but
it's
not
already
yet
here.
fully. Yeah.
And the Eucharist is that coming together in a moment of like heaven on earth. And I was like, oh, that's what that means. But it also gave me that's how Jews would treat the temple. Is if it were destroyed, it would be as if the world ended. And it changed my, and the Lamb's Supper changed my whole perspective on Revelation too. And it's just like, wow, it's so, the history and just the deeper meaning of everything is beautiful. And it's like, I keep saying there's more, and I keep finding more. And it's like, wow. So it's like, I wish people could see what I see. And I feel crazy because nobody else.
Us with our tinfoil hats.
Yeah, nobody else sees it, and I'm like, but it's right here. But it took me forever to see it too, and but I'm just like, there's so much. Like Mary is just like, that's if they allow it, that's my I can't pay what is confirmation.
Oh, your confirmation scene.
Yeah,
the Virgin Mary
is going to be Mary.
Yeah,
and if they allow it, that's what I would like. But it's like, because there's so much beauty. How cool is it that not only do I have a mother on earth, but I have a mother in heaven? And it's like, and someone said, I don't know who it was, but they're like, they're like, oh, you worship Mary, and they're like, you can never love Mary more than Jesus loves Mary. And I was like, well, that's for sure. I can never love if I get married, I'll never be able to love my wife more than Jesus loves my wife. And it's just like, when you start to get that, it's like, being a priest of your family, being the head of your family, being the one that sacrifices themselves for the greater good of other people. I think it's all starting to come together, and it's just crazy. Actually, I heard something today and yesterday. It was kind of cool. It was a priest. It was from Scott Hahn. I'm quoting Scott Hahn quoting a priest, and he said, it was the argument of like, well, why is Mary without sin? And this priest goes, you have a mother. If you had the ability to make your mother perfect and blameless and without sin, would you? Yeah, you would. but you can't because you're not God. But He is, and He did. And I was like, I would do that for my mom. If I could, I would make my mom perfect. Why would I feel that way, and Jesus would not feel that way about his mom?
Especially given that she would bear God in her womb. Yeah.
I just, even if not, like,
sure,
that's just human nature. You look at your parents and you would look at your mother as like, who would not make their mother perfect?
What better way to honor his mother than to,
and it's not like she didn't have to be, but he did. It's like, that's cool.
Yeah.
Because that's what I would do.
Yep.
Sorry, I would.
Yep.
And I can't, but he can. So it's like, I liked what that guy said. It's a random priest. I have no idea what his name is. I was just in a Scott Hahn video. But it was great.
You're forever. I mean, I know, obviously, but when are you actually becoming Catholic? Because not yet. A couple months,
so
right?
We're trying to figure out if Easter Vigil is the day.
Because they're receiving your baptism, so you don't have to be you don't have to be baptized.
No,
just
so they're accepting my
communion.
baptism. I have to go to confession first.
That's right.
And then I do the rest of the process. So typically, he said it's not the same day as new converts.
Not in our diocese, no.
But he's talking to see if it would be okay if I could do it on Easter Vigil, because I kind of want to do it anyways, because I don't know how close this is, but like the reason I wanted to do it on Easter was the Easter I missed, because I'm born April 21st, so the Easter I missed being born was either the 9th or 10th of April, and Easter's on the 9th, I believe, this year. And I was like, how cool. My I haven't had 33 Easters, or I don't know how that works. I'm not really good at this. This part's where I'm bad, because I'm 33, but I'm going to be 34.
So this will be the 33rd Easter you've experienced, because you were born after.
Because I was born after. I'm like, wow, that's kind of cool. What's been kind of weird about this is, like, not to like compare myself to Jesus, but like, I've done like a 3-4 year journey from the day Easter, my birthday, 4 years ago, almost now, 3 years. I have done a huge 180 on spiritual journey. From on my 30th birthday, I spent my 30th birthday serving at a Easter service on Sunday. That was the first time in my life that Easter was on my birthday. And I spent it serving at a church. Ever since then, I have been on this weird journey from 30 to 33. I was like, I have to be brought into the Catholic Church while I'm 33 on Easter, the Easter I missed. I know, like, some people are like, that's like, to me, it was like, this is weird. There's a lot of weirdness to this.
Sure.
So it's like 30 to 33, Jesus, 30 to 33. I might die.
Oh, don't do that.
No.
You will die to yourself.
I'll die to myself. But it was just like, it was just kind of, I was like, I'm going on this weird journey, and it started on Easter on my 30th birthday. And like, it took me a while to realize that, because a month later, everything changed. But it's like, it started. It's like Easter, for some reason, everything just kind of took over, and now here I am. It's been 3, 4, whatever, how many years. But it's like, I don't know. To me, I don't look at coincidences. I'm like, things happen for a reason. It's just, what is the reason? So hopefully Easter Vigil is when I'm coming into the church. Yeah. Nice. So yeah, but like, yep, it's happening.
Yeah. What would you say, I guess maybe this is kind of wrapping it up, what would you say to someone who's on a similar journey? Because you're nearing, I don't want to say the end of it. You're at the end of the beginning. Because really it's the beginning.
Oh, yeah, it's going to just,
Yeah,
Things
it's
are
the
gonna-
that's what we
yeah.
learned within the first couple months. Like,
Things are
oh,
gonna take off from here.
Yeah, exactly. So, but someone who's like maybe at the beginning of investigating and like kind of going like,
I just say just keep. If you see something, dig,
Mhm.
dig. Like that's what kept. Like everything led to something else. Like if someone says something, go find it. Don't just believe what anybody. Don't believe what I say. Go find it. Don't believe, like if someone's
don't listen to me either.
don't listen to you. Like just go, like if there's something saying maybe there's more, lean into it, go into it and expect it to suck.
It's super encouraging. Yeah,
I know, but like
you're right though.
but yeah, like it's gonna suck, and especially if everyone doesn't like Catholics, it's gonna suck. It's gonna be hard. No one's gonna understand why you're doing it, but dig, like just push into it, because that's what I did. I just I could not stop looking. Nothing, like I was like, I just need to know more. I need to know more, and I still do, and I don't know anything. Like I feel like I've scratched the surface, and there's more, and I'll never know everything, but I feel like there's just a fire, and I'm gonna just keep looking, if you're just starting, or if you have questions, just look into it for yourself. Like, don't let anybody discourage you. Don't let anybody tell you it's stupid or wrong. Just look. Like whatever you do, like just you have to push yourself, and you have to, when it gets hard, that's when you really dig in.
What would you say conversely to someone who maybe is listening to this but hasn't had that curiosity and is like, why would I look into that, or hasn't thought about?
You mean someone who's not?
Yeah, because like obviously there's people who are like maybe on that journey, they're researching, they're in that curiosity phase. But what about someone who's not? That's not
fair, because I have one thing. I'm like, go read Why We Have 66 Books. But no, that's not fair. But it is. I don't know what I would say, because like I have so many people. I wish people would come talk to me. That's actually one of the things that sucked too. Is I have all these friends that say they cared about me, and if they really think Catholicism is that wrong and my soul's in jeopardy, not one of them has reached out to me to say we need to talk and this is why. Not one. And it almost, not to be rude, but it's almost like I would say it's like, are they scared that I'm going to show them something? And because I would love for my friends to come ask me, but the most I get is, well, God's got you on a spiritual journey. Well, this is the end of the road. So I don't know what you like. What do you expect the rest of my spiritual journey to be? Because this is it. Like, I don't know what that, like, that's a weird thing to say, but I love that. But like, ask me why. So I guess for me, to somebody else, that's hard, because nobody's listened to me to this point. So, or they have, and now that they know, it's like, all those things he told me that were really cool and true, I just don't care about anymore. I don't know what you say.
Yeah, just like an invitation to curiosity, I think, is kind of. I've been thinking about this, like, like we should be curious. Like, what made someone make this decision?
Yeah, I've known people for how many years, and not one person is asking me, what did you see to make you think this? I disagree with you, but why? What piqued your? Not one. So I don't know what you say to someone who doesn't have that curiosity, because how do I talk to somebody who has known me, but not one of them has asked why? So I don't know what you say to someone in that situation. It's like, it's not there. There is no curiosity. No one cares. Like I said, when I asked, I've been going to 3 churches, and one of them's Mass. We didn't talk about Mass. You would think we would talk about Mass, but it's almost like you don't want to talk about it because I'm going to say this. There's truth in it and you don't want to see it. That's what I think, because the more I'm realizing the reason you don't want to talk to me is because you're scared I'm going to show you something that you didn't know, and it's going to change your life, and you don't want that. Otherwise,
you think people might suspect that there there could be something to what you're saying, but you think they might be afraid to like.
I think so, because otherwise, why not?
Sure.
Why is not one?
Mm-hmm.
Not one person, and maybe some don't care.
Yeah, and
that's fair.
Sure,
but it's like, I know some do. But not one person's gonna be like, hey, why? Mm-hmm. I am waiting. I really am.
That poor soul.
That poor soul. But like, but I don't know what you say to someone, because it's almost like you have to wait for someone to be in such a place that they're maybe right. Like for me, it was, you just were like, I don't know why you were just like, pray to Mary. I don't fully know. I don't either.
Honestly,
looking back, I don't know what
decision
it was, but it was the best. It was the best decision. It led this, but it's like, but I don't know what prompted it, to be honest. Like, I know, like, I was wanting a relationship and wanting to talk to a certain person, and you were just like, pray to Mary. But it's like, I don't really know what prompted it. Like, why you were just like, try this out. But it's like, it's like you almost have to wait for that, but there is no sign of that. It's like God opens your eyes at a certain point. And eventually maybe someone will come talk to me, but I don't know what you say to someone. I wish. Because what I have said has not worked. And that's also what I'm learning is I need to just be okay with that. And because I've said a lot of stuff, and a lot of stuff, like I can argue my points. That's not going to change someone's opinion.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
I don't know how. I don't know what to say. I wish I did. I wish I knew, because I didn't. I fought you on every turn, and here I am. So I don't know.
That makes two of us. I fought it.
Yeah,
pretty much all the way down.
And I think we had good reasons to not. We were wrong, but we had good reasons. So I don't know what it takes. I don't know if it's. I don't know, because I mean I can take apart a lot of arguments, but just because I can take apart a lot of arguments doesn't mean they're gonna all of a sudden be like.
It also has to be personal at some point.
It does. That's why I think it matters when.
Totally.
For whatever reason, you told me to pray to Mary at that time. It's almost like it was perfect.
It's really funny that you said it that way too, because so when we had Gary on. He talked about his conversion, and he said he pretty confidently feels that when he made the decision, he felt, and he still feels, as though there was a window of grace being given, that if he had accepted it, then he would have converted. But if he had hesitated or waited, he's not sure he ever would have, or reverted in his case. He's not sure he ever would have. So he kind of mentioned that, and I think that's interesting that for him, he's like, there's a time when it was right. I was ready mentally and in his heart, and he felt like the window was open, and he had this fear because it was open for him, but it wasn't open for other people in his family. Yeah. If it closed and he waited, it just would have. It might not open again. Like he might not ever go back to it. And so then when he said that, I was like, that's interesting, because I never would have thought about it that way. But you saying that. Almost reiterates what he said. Like there might be for people that window that opens, and then God is calling them, God's giving them what they need, God's empowering them, but he still wants them in their freedom to choose him. And there might be a point where that window's open, their freedom, they could choose it, and they have that choice. They have volition to do it, and they might not choose to.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna push on mine. I don't think I had a choice. I've been thinking about this a lot. There's a reason I'm becoming Catholic. and I'm not like trying to be all grand and like, oh, it's for no. I like there's a reason. It's not small, because we live in a small town. I somehow meet the one kid who's also becoming a Catholic, and then I become a Catholic. Like, there's something more to this, and I don't know how to explain it, because I don't feel like I get what he says, because I understand. Like, I agree. I think that's true for some people, like you said. I don't feel like that was my.
Oh, okay.
I don't feel like there was a window. I mean, that's the longest window I've been in, and I went through hell first. Like, the window closed after that thing that happened,
and then you were forcibly shoved through it,
and then all of a sudden I was exactly. Like, that's how I feel. Like,
with glass
that
shards
should have closed
piercing
it.
you, yeah.
But it's almost like something wasn't letting me let it go.
Bro, you prayed to Mary once, it's over.
I prayed to Mary once and it's over. But
she got you,
she
man.
did. She was like,
mine.
But like, literally, like, I don't feel like I know I had a choice, but I feel like there's something grand in this, and it's not about me. But there's something coming. I don't know how to explain it. It's weird, because I've had every moment to turn around, but I don't feel like I have that. I don't feel like I have that option. And I don't feel like I had that option, because I literally went through hell and had no reason to say, well, let's keep going. There was no reason to. And I did. Something pulled. And it still is. It's like I'm the one line that hasn't broke on the fishing pole. Someone's fishing.
You think you're
up.
pulling all these things in?
I
really,
think
you're
but
on
it's
the
literally
hook.
I'm on the
I
hook.
see what you're saying. Yeah.
Like, I'm the one thing that hasn't broke. Even though I've been fighting it this entire time. Whoever's reeling me in hasn't given up yet, and it's been a 2-year battle. And I don't know why. I don't feel like I had a choice in this one. Ever since that.
Interesting.
Ever since, because I had every reason to be mad at you and give up.
And stop talking to
And
me
stop
and stop
talking to you.
researching it on your own, and just not researching on
Who
your
goes
own.
through hell and goes, oh, that's the direction to go.
Yeah, this has been what I want to do the whole time.
But I did. I couldn't not. I couldn't deny it. Like, not once in my life has a prayer been answered like that. It blew up in my face. However, it was answered.
And in a really deep way, like it's revealed some really important things.
Well, it revealed that I was still broken.
Yeah.
I thought I took 2 years of my life to better myself and be like a better Christian, and I'm ready to get married and blah, blah, blah. Oh, no, I wasn't. No. It was like, hey, remember all that stuff you thought you were ready for? No, you're not. And yet, here I am. So, I don't know. And maybe I'm an idiot and I like pain or something, and it's like, oh, let's like keep piling it on. But it's like, I don't know, there's something about it that's just, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but I don't feel like I don't feel like someone's not letting me give up on it. They won't let me give up on it, because I've had every opportunity to say no more. I'm done. And yet the only thing I can say is, I don't know what you want from me, but you've already got it. It's like, I'm not, like, I literally, that's my prayer, is I don't understand why all this stuff has to happen, why it has to be hell, and why, because you already got me. I'm coming. Like, I'm coming home. Stop. You don't have to keep doing it, but you keep letting it happen.
The beatings will continue.
But I'm
until
like, I'm coming home.
improves.
Why do you? Yeah. But it's like, no matter what I go through, I'm just like full steam ahead, and I can't. I don't. It's almost as if someone won't let me. Because every time I'm like, well, maybe no. I find something else. I find one little smidge. Like, I keep finding a breadcrumb I'm like, oh, I went to a Latin mass, and I was like, I don't know if this is for me. Let me show you some other stuff. And I'm like, okay. It's like, wow, I don't know how to explain it, but yeah. So that's I will go against not against him. That's his story, and I see how that can be. Mine, I just don't feel like I've had a choice to go back.
Yeah,
because someone doesn't want me to. I don't know if it's a few people. But
it's Jesus and it's Mary.
Mary's like, no. You know I'm your mother, and you're a mama's boy.
Yeah.
You got keep listening to me.
Do you want to tell everybody what else you're doing? You're coming into the church on Easter Vigil, hopefully.
Easter Vigil, hopefully. What else am I
You
doing?
want to make Mary your patron saint?
I want to make Mary my patron saint, and I also want to
do the consecration.
Consecration. I'm sorry, it's 11:30.
It's late. Yeah, it's
a consecration to Mary.
Ending on Easter. Like you would do the prayer of consecration on Easter Vigil.
Yes.
I think that's cool. I think that's really cool because then, I mean, for one thing, to enter the church consecrated to Mary is so based. That's like overachiever convert status for sure. But I think another thing, like what a gift to the Blessed Mother to consecrate yourself on the day of her son's resurrection. Like that's got to be like the most important day to her. Like
I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the person pulling me.
Yeah. Praying hard up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, why not? Like I want to give back to that. And it's been a journey.
It's cool.
I think your laptop died.
Oh, that sounds about right. Or it's just asleep. No, it died. Yeah, it totally died. That's okay. I can.
Is it recording there?
Yeah, I think it is.
Oh.
Let me just make sure.
That's kind of funny.
That's
That's the ending. Huh? It's still going?
Yeah, it's still going.
Oh. Sorry, we're still live. But yeah, no, that's my. Maybe it is. Maybe someone, Pope Leo, said something. The other day he said something. This was in the.
He's been dead a long time, but just the other day.
Just the other day, I read something the other day, and it said, in order to get to the Father, it's through Jesus. But in order to get to Jesus, it's through his mother. I'm like, well.
Anyone that's Protestant listening is going, what? But if Jesus comes into the world through Mary, through Mary's womb.
Yeah.
So that's.
I was like, I don't know. There's more to this. It's never going to end.
It's just the beginning.
It's just the beginning.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I just feel drawn. I've tried so hard. To not do this. And
kicking
here
and
I
screaming.
am.
Yeah.
So hard not to do this.
Got a miraculous
medal. I got my rosary in my pocket.
The one that you broke and then had to fix.
I fixed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gave me this and I fixed it.
I even gave you one where the center medal was Divine Mercy, so that it wasn't Mary, so that it wouldn't freak you out. But now in hindsight, I'm like, I should have given you one with Mary
because
that
perfect. Because I like this one. And what's funny about this is supposedly this is one that's meant for like wartime, like so that they're tough and durable.
Yeah. And
I still broke it.
I have another version, like I have a replacement because I gave you that one and I bought another one. I have Gwendolyn, my daughter, puts it around her. She does also. She throws it down the stairs. I mean, totally fine. You broke it.
I broke it. I put it back together though, and I was like, I have to put this back together. This is my rosary. So yeah, but it's been a journey, and I'm grateful for you and Gina being a part of it, and you deceivers.
Yeah, we brainwashed you.
Brainwashed me.
I too was brainwashed by the likes of Scott Hahn.
Scott Hahn.
Yeah, it's all his fault.
I could talk about him for hours. I love him. I wish I could meet him. Yeah. No, I'm grateful for you guys, and I want my family to know that I like no matter what I love them, and like whether they come into the church or not, or if they think I'm crazy, I still love them, and I'm always going to love my family and love my mom. I'm just, this is the path I'm on. And I'm just gonna dive into this head first.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's good. I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the the reflection on receiving the sacraments afterwards is going to be really powerful for you, I think.
Yeah.
I spent months just like figuring out like what happened. Like for us, confirmation really felt at first, it's just like you said, like we got confirmed, received the Eucharist, and I was excited because it was like the end of that era of our journey. But like the actual moment itself, like in the moment, I was like, okay. But then like it was very clear to me that something shifted after confirmation. Just the way I approached it, the zeal that we both had. You know, it's like it's just interesting to reflect on experiencing the sacraments afterwards, because like in the moment, it's exactly like you say. Like it's first, not everyone. Some people have like amazing miraculous, like, oh, I tasted blood in my tongue, you know, or whatever. But most people are like, okay, that happened, but it's only after. It's only in hindsight that a lot of times we see what God has done, especially through the sacraments. You know, just like looking back on my baptism. I look back. I mean, the most Protestant of Protestant dunk tank testimony baptisms, and I look back on it, and I'm like, I was submitting to it as like an act of like, I want to take this seriously, and really what it was is I didn't realize at the time the sacramental power of it, even in that context of it not, you know, being
even if they
Catholic,
didn't,
even if they didn't mean it,
it still was
valid.
Well,
and then I look back on it and I'm like, in a sense, I was like, right, I gave God an inch, like, I want to take this seriously, so I'm making a statement. He's like, oh, you think this is about you making a statement? I'm saving you. And I look back on my baptism, which coincidentally, when we got my baptism certificate to come into the church so that we could prove that I'd been baptized, it ended up being the same date that Gina and I got married, March 28th. And I didn't know that. So 2 sacraments are celebrated on the same day for me, which is kind of cool.
That is.
The thing I was reborn by and then the thing I die for. But yeah, it's in reflecting, especially on confirmation in the Eucharist, that I'm just like, oh, it's subtle, but it's powerful. And then when you recognize it, and then when you submit to it even further, it's like, oh, wow.
It's the cool eye-opening of how, like, again, it comes back to there's more, and everything means something.
And it's real.
It's real.
It's not like a metaphor. It's not like spiritual.
No,
it's spiritual, but it's like real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it all means something. Like there's not 1 ounce of just symbol. No, it's all real. Every last piece.
There is not one thing taught dogmatically by the Catholic Church that is false or incorrect. Every ounce and iota of the magisterial teaching is truth and life, and it's a part of Christ himself. It's his body, and it's safeguarded. Sometimes he may look ugly, but the church is the bark of Peter, and we all must be aborted. So, yeah. Well, that's probably a good place to close.
Yes. It's bedtime.
Yeah, it's gonna be like a 3-hour show, man,
yeah,
with like
I
some crazy interruptions.
He
He did tell me, he's like, "You better prepare for 3 hours." I'm like, "Do you want to do it tonight?" He's like, "We should do it later." And I'm like, "Well, we should do it tonight." And then now it's midnight.
Yeah. Tried to warn you.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, hey, thanks everyone. If you make it to the end of this, that's awesome. Hopefully you got something out of Stephen's story. It was pretty raw, really cool stuff. Thank you for being vulnerable to share. I mean, I knew all this stuff.
Yeah.
I've heard it, but I think it's really cool for other people listening. Just a couple things. One, if you want to hear more stuff like this, I want to keep interviewing people who are converting, reverting, just living out their faith. And we've been interviewing just people from our area that are just normal, sold out Catholics. That's kind of the goal. So we'll keep doing that. If you like that, definitely subscribe. And
if you like to hear me talk, I'll come back.
Oh
on
yeah,
too.
Stephen will be back on.
Yes,
that's for sure.
I like to talk.
In addition to that, if you're listening to this and maybe you came into this listening going, I don't know anything about Catholicism, I just know Stephen or Drew or whatever, and I'm here to like, what's going on, you know? Or maybe you're listening and like something is drawing you to Catholicism, you're at that beginning kind of curiosity, or you're deep on that journey. I just want to invite you, why not press into that curiosity? Like there are many people who are doing research, who are studying history, who are looking at the Bible, who are looking at the traditions of the Catholic Church, and not based on their own logic or their own merit or their own skillfulness, but almost on a refutation of their own merit, of looking at, well, how could I trust myself to figure it out? But look at all of this beauty and this history and this depth of philosophy and theology and just the sheer evidence. There's people looking at that and coming into the Catholic Church, people who are much smarter than us.
I'm not smart.
And we're just, we're like, I think that's the big thing is you might not think that there's something there, but what if there is? And if there's not, we live in an age with more access to information about the earliest ages of the church, with documents from it, with Catholic history.
So many documents.
Yeah. It should be attainable. It might take work, but it should be attainable to look into it and make a decision for yourself. So I don't know. I've never really kind of put a push like that at the end, but like, I think God is inviting people on the journey to look into this. And obviously we've done that, and not because of our own opinions, our own scholarly intuition. We've gone like, well, seems to add up to this way.
No, I've found
on the front end, it's terrifying. You're like, I don't want it to be true. I want it to be false. Then look into it for that reason.
Yeah.
Prove that it's false.
But don't just listen to one, like go.
Yeah. Don't listen to us.
Yeah.
Don't listen to Scott Hahn alone. Just go listen to the other side and just that investigation, because if it's true, it's the most important thing you could ever do is to become Catholic. And if it's false, the most important thing you could ever do is to prove that it's false and avoid it like the plague. So yeah, that's it. So anyone that's listening that's kind of in that place, I invite you to do that. And we'll see you next time on Drew the Catholic.